Chapter 2391. Moreover, Diying has a very strong murderous aura. The one who refined Diying was a Grandmaster artifact refiner, and he didn't just refine an ultimate heavenly law treasure weapon. Honorable Nanchiu said, he chose the best materials and the best refining location to refine the Emperor's concealment. He even gave the Emperor's concealment an extremely powerful spirit of slaughter. Unfortunately, when he succeeded in refining the Emperor's concealment, he did not receive the recognition of the heavenly Tao and the primal chaos Qi. Lin Feng nodded. All ultimate heavenly law treasures were the same before the murderous aura descended. They were all pinnacle heavenly law treasures. But even so, Diying is the masterpiece of this Grandmaster artifact refiner. Due to its high foundation and the fusion of space and time, the materials are exquisite, and the refinement is flawless. Even among the pinnacle heavenly law treasures, there are only a few that are better than it. It's comparable to an ordinary ultimate heavenly law treasure, especially the murderous aura that Diying possesses. As long as it can be controlled, it will be an indestructible blade, allowing Diying to unleash 120% of its power in battle. How about it? Are you interested? Supremacy Nanchiu looked at Lin Feng with a smile. Of course. Lin Feng smiled and stepped forward without hesitation. He stared at War Saber Diying and felt its monstrous murderous aura. A blood-red light flashed in his eyes. He was best at the dark demon heavenly law. Murderous aura? Not only did he have it, but it was also much stronger than Diying's. But Lin Feng held the war blade, Emperor's concealment, and in an instant, it was as if a dragon had soared into the sky. Emperor's concealment let out a resounding hum, and an enormous murderous aura was displayed almost instantly, causing the entire space to tremble. But two inscriptions were activated, and War Saber Diying's power suddenly reached a peak. Supremacy Nanchiu's beautiful eyes moved. Activating the inscriptions yourself is interesting. Diying's murderous aura is really strong. It seems that it has been suppressed for too long. Whoosh! Countless messages flooded into Lin Feng's mind. Especially the seals of the first two inscriptions, they were deeply imprinted in his mind and could not be erased. Shadows appeared in his mind, flashing with the secrets of the first two inscriptions. Almost instantly, Lin Feng had grasped more than half of them. 7 inscriptions. Compared to the War Saber Calamity, there were 4 more. From shallow to deep, layer by layer. Just the activation of these 2 engraved seals, relying on the power of the peak-level Heavenly Tao Supreme Treasure itself, had already surpassed the full power of the War Saber Calamity. This is it. Lin Feng wielded the War Saber, Emperor Concealment, and swung the saber. The heavenly law of time and space perfectly fused together. Monstrous power gushed out from the black vortex as he used the 4th move of the Milky Way saber technique, Falling Mountain Crumble. Its power was more than 10 times stronger than the one that defeated Sikong Wushuang that day. Supremacy Nanchiu nodded with a smile. This saber move has already reached the level of a peak divine master. As the person in charge of the Supreme Treasure Vault, she was happiest to be able to find the most suitable owner for each of these supreme treasures. The War Saber, Emperor Concealment, and Lin Feng were a match made in heaven. The saber and the man were extremely perfect. Supremacy Nanchiu stood quietly at the side and watched Lin Feng use the War Saber. Emperor Concealment's murderous aura spread out and enveloped Lin Feng. It was as if there was a pair of invisible hands controlling Emperor Concealment, making the War Saber extremely obedient. Supremacy Nanchiu had a rough idea. Extremely strong willpower. Perfect murderous control and a pure heart. Lin Feng is indeed the most suitable for the War Saber, Emperor Concealment. I believe there will be a huge commotion in the hidden Supremacy training camp soon. Supremacy Nanchiu smiled as she looked at Lin Feng. It was as if she could see the rise of a future supremacy in the Xingfeng branch, just like the current Kuei-Yi Huang Zun, who was very famous. After choosing the war saber, Supremacy Nanqiu immediately brought Lin Feng to choose another pinnacle Heavenly Tao Supreme Treasure, Perished Barbarian Armor. This was a mid-tier armor among the pinnacle Heavenly Tao Supreme Treasures for defense. However, compared to the pinnacle Heavenly Tao Supreme Treasures, it was naturally much stronger. Purely in terms of defense, the Earth and Light Elemental armors have a higher defense. The Space Elemental armors have a slight difference in defense, but the armor's agility is higher, and its ability to resist attacks from the Space and Time Elemental laws is much stronger. It's more comprehensive. Moreover, the Perished Barbarian armor has another characteristic. It's refined with a precious metal that can heal itself, Perished Barbarian King's Stone Heart. No matter how badly damaged it is, as long as its core isn't damaged, it will be able to heal itself. I believe this will be a very suitable armor for you. Lin Feng nodded as he listened to Supremacy Nanqiu's introduction. Armor with high defense was suitable for cultivators who didn't fight often and relied on defense. For cultivators like him who liked to challenge and take risks, the Perished Barbarian armor was indeed very suitable. Especially in the universe secret territory, where space and time were dangerous places, the armor's damage rate would be relatively high. The Perished Barbarian armor was very suitable. He didn't rely on defense that much. Compared to the Time Elemental armor, the Space Elemental armor's defensive function was slightly stronger. I'll take this, Lord Nanqiu. Lin Feng smiled as he accepted the Perished Barbarian armor. There were so many pinnacle Heavenly Tao Supreme Treasure armors, but he actually didn't know which one was the most suitable for him. Supremacy Nanqiu was very experienced, so letting her make the decision might be the right thing to do. After all, she had helped him choose the war saber Diyin previously. Diyin was very suitable for him. He believed that with Supremacy Nanqiu's judgment, this Perished Barbarian armor would definitely be a good helper. He continued to choose the pinnacle Heavenly Tao Supreme Treasures. Supremacy Nanqiu was very professional. According to Lin Feng's own ability and his mastery of the space and time Heavenly Tao, she carefully selected the pinnacle Heavenly Tao Supreme Treasures and matched them perfectly. Treasures are valued for quality, not quantity. Although special class geniuses have the right to choose countless pinnacle Heavenly Tao Supreme Treasures, there's no need to be greedy. Mastering one Heavenly Tao Supreme Treasure to the extreme is more important than matching 10 Heavenly Tao Supreme Treasures. Supremacy Nanqiu said earnestly. Moreover, the most important thing for a cultivator is their own cultivation. It's not a good thing to rely too much on treasures. Lin Feng nodded. Lin Feng will bear that in mind. Go. If you need them in the future, it won't be too late to choose them. Supremacy Nanqiu said with a smile. However, I believe that these 5 pinnacle Heavenly Tao Supreme Treasures are enough for you. With your ability, the treasures you obtain in the future will only be better. Do your best and challenge the hidden Supremacy training camp. Let the other 29998 astral realms see how strong our Xing Feng astral realms special class geniuses are. I believe that with your ability, you will definitely be able to make a name for yourself in the hidden Supremacy training camp and amaze the world. Lin Feng bowed. Lin Feng will definitely not disappoint Supremacy. Chapter 2392. The Battle Saber Diyin, the Fallen Barbarian Armor, and 5 top Heavenly Law True Treasures. The benefits of being an extra-grade genius were quite generous. After that, Lin Feng received a sufficient amount of source life fluid. This was a treasure that stimulated the bloodline in the body. The 5 tycoons all used the same thing, which came from the unique plant life forms in the universe secret realms and extracted their essence. Anyone below the Supremacy level could take source fluid to improve their bloodline. Also, it was different from the heaven and earth fruit. First, it didn't have any side effects. Second, its effect wouldn't decrease because of the time it took. However, the effect of source fluid was ultimately dependent on the martial artist's talent and ability. Its function was to stimulate and excavate one's bloodline, not to improve it. If a martial artist's bloodline couldn't break through to the supremacy level, it would be useless no matter how much source fluid he had. If the martial artist's bloodline was too strong and the shackles were too deep, it would take a long time even if the source fluid kept stimulating it. Lin Feng knew his own situation. His bloodline was strong, but the shackles were too deep. Even with the source fluid, it would take a long time. However, bloodline wasn't a decisive factor for his current combat power, so it didn't matter. He could take it slowly. Normally, a small bottle of source fluid is enough for an era. If the bloodline has been excavated to the limit, the absorption of source fluid will be very slow. There will still be a lot left after an era. But if the bloodline is strong, the absorption speed will be very fast. It might be finished in a few thousand years. Lin Feng opened the bottle of source fluid and swallowed it. The refreshing liquid entered his stomach, and his whole body felt refreshed. The feeling from the heart to the body made him feel like he was in the most beautiful hot spring with energy continuously flowing to his body. Good stuff. It couldn't be bought outside even with money. Only the members of the 5 magnates had the patent. First-grade geniuses could use it limitlessly, and extra-grade geniuses didn't need to say anything. I wonder how long I can absorb this small bottle? Lin Feng was also curious. He received 100 bottles of source fluid directly. Hu Jinyu and Ouyangyi each received 10 bottles. They could receive unlimited bottles after using them. After breaking through to the supremacy level, source fluid would be useless. Supremacies were compatible with the world and had mastered the way of heaven. Even if their bloodline wasn't fully activated, it would slowly be fully excavated as time passed. With the chaos of the heavenly Tao as the source, why would he need any other help? The hidden sovereign training camp opens once every epoch. Some cultivators leave while some enter. There are still 4,500 years until the next opening. It just so happens that I have some time to cultivate the treasures I obtained and master them. Once we enter the hidden Zune training camp, the competition will be fierce. I'm afraid we won't have much time left. Lin Feng knew this clearly. Therefore, in these 4,500 years, he didn't go to the virtual Heavenly Tao Palace or Yiyun Pavilion. It didn't matter if he went later. Since he was going to enter the hidden venerable training camp, he naturally had to prepare everything. That place was no joke. Even the special geniuses had a mortality rate of more than 50%. Even if he was confident, he still had to give it his all. After all, his goal wasn't just to survive in the hidden Zune training camp, but to become number 1 and obtain that gift, an ultimate treasure of the heavenly Tao. 7th Mercenary Alliance, Xingfeng Branch. Honorable Xingyang, Kuei Huang Zun, Honorable Bai Fu, Honorable Nanqiu, and the other honorables were all present. They were having a routine meeting to discuss the various matters of the Xingfeng Branch. The 7th Hidden Sovereign Conference is about to begin again, Honorable Xingyang said. Kuei Huang Zun nodded. It's organized by a powerful figure and happens once every 100 epochs. However, our Xingfeng astral boundary has performed terribly for dozens of consecutive sessions and only has the lowest 10 slots. It's a vicious cycle. The worse the performance, the fewer the slots. Honorable Hieo shook his head. The most embarrassing thing was that the Time Virtual Company took 3 out of the 10 spots, Murdering God Tower took 3, Space 30,000 Worlds took 2, Universe Bank took 1, and an independent cultivator took 1. Our Xingfeng branch lost all face. Venerable Cloud Crane smiled bitterly. Honorable Bai Fu chuckled. Our Xingfeng branch also only had 1 slot in the previous session and the one before that. Honorable Xingyang rubbed his bald forehead and smiled awkwardly. As the person in charge of the Xingfeng branch, he couldn't escape the blame. He looked at Kuei Huang Zun beside him and saw that the latter's expression was ugly. They would be laughed at by the other branches of the 7th Mercenary Alliance. They would be laughed at by the other 4 big shots of the Xingfeng astral boundary. Honorables had an unlimited lifespan, so their face was especially important. Who could stand being laughed at for 100 epochs? Is there any hope for this session? Honorable Nanqiu looked at Kuei Huangzun. Kuei Huangzun frowned. There's an 80% chance. The special genius from 50 epochs ago, He Yu, has the combat power of a peak god master. He should be able to get a slot. Honorable Xingyang said, before the 90th epoch, the 7th epoch emptiness realm genius, Zhiyuan, is only slightly weaker than He Yu. He should have a 40% to 50% chance. Venerable Baifu said, from what I know, the Time Virtual Company and Murdering God Tower still have a lot of geniuses this year, like Guang Lu, Yang Sun, Yama Prince, etc. I'm afraid He Yu is not their match. Honorable He Ao said, the Universe Bank has a very strong special genius, Wu Yun. He was recruited 10 epochs ago and is said to be near the peak god master level. Honorable Yun he frowned. From what I know, the twin brothers in the 30,000 epochs are on par with He Yu. Honorable Nanqiu said, the Steel Bone Universe Ship Company, Precious Treasure Pavilion and Limitless Biology Corporation all seem to have geniuses who can challenge the 10 slots. Honorable Xingyang and Kuei Huangzun's expressions turned ugly. The Xingfeng astral realm was too big. There were too many geniuses. Let's not care about him. We'll just get another egg. Honorable Xingyang waved his hand. Since we've been laughed at for 100 epochs, so what if we laugh for another 100 epochs? Kuei Huangzun said, there's no need to be discouraged. He Yu's chances of getting a slot are still very high. The other honorables nodded. The venerable ones acknowledged He Yu's strength. Actually, the seedlings we've recruited for the past 10 epochs are all not bad. Honorable Baifu said, Wu Shun, Qi Huazhu and the newly recruited Lin Feng, 3 special geniuses. Given enough time, they all have a chance of getting a slot. Honorable He Ao said, it's useless, the 7th Hidden Sovereign Convention is held once every 100 epochs. Only the newcomers are qualified to participate. This time, their strength is far from enough, so they won't be able to participate next time. Sigh, actually it's not that we're weak, it's just that we're unlucky. Honorable Yun he consoled himself. The other honorables all rolled their eyes and snorted. Alright, let's not talk about these annoying things. Next. Honorable Xingyang shook his head and shouted. Chapter 2393. 7th Mercenary Alliance, Xingfeng Branch. 4,500 years passed by in the blink of an eye to a cultivator. The time was too short, and Lin Feng's control over the 7 treasures was still at the elementary awareness stage, so it wasn't too deep. However, his battle strength had increased quite a bit, going from being close to a peak divine master to being comparable to a peak divine master. If he could grasp all of them, his battle strength would be limitless, but he didn't have that much time. Brother Lin, didn't you go to watch the 7th Hidden Honorable Conference? Yuan Xiu laughed as he walked over. Behind him was the beautiful Ouyangyi, her fluffy tail looking very cute. Lin Feng shook his head. I won't be going, I don't have time. Yuan Xiu laughed. Even a super genius like you is working so hard, how can we endure it? Ouyangyi smiled sweetly. The 7th Hidden Honorable Conference only happens once every 100 eras, it's so lively. Many forces have sent a large number of newcomers to participate in the elimination round. Treasure Hall, Weapons Heaven Manor, Steel Bone Universe Ship Company, Limitless Biology Corporation, First Bank, these first-class forces are all at the top, and some independent cultivators are also doing well. Lin Feng was slightly surprised. Why aren't the 5 magnates here? Yuan Xiu laughed. Brother Lin really doesn't care about what's going on outside. The 7th Hidden Honorable Conference is open to newcomers from the entire star boundary. The 5 magnates don't need to participate in the first and second round, and the truly powerful first-class forces don't need to participate either. Lin Feng understood. He still remembered the treatment for first-class newcomers. One of them was to directly qualify for the elimination round of the 7th Hidden Honorable Conference. Yang smiled sweetly. The 7th Hidden Honorable Conference is divided into the preliminary round, the semifinals, and the elimination round. Each round takes thousands of years, so there's still a long time until the elimination round. Lin Feng asked, "Then are you guys participating?" "Of course." Yuan Shiyu didn't hesitate. "It only happens once every 100 eras, and we can't participate in the next one. If we miss this chance, we won't have another one. We have to go and broaden our horizons." Yang covered her mouth and laughed. "Brother Kuei, you make it sound so grand. First-class newcomers have to participate anyway." Yuan Shiyu laughed. "That's a different matter." Lin Feng laughed involuntarily. "I didn't know there was such a rule." Yuan Yu said, "Actually, it's not necessary. For example, if you enter the Heaven Bright Secret Realm and can't come out, then you don't have to participate. If your time in the Hidden Zone training camp is not up yet, then you don't have to participate. However, if there's no special reason, then you do have to participate. After all, our 7th Mercenary Alliance values this very much. If you give up and don't fight, you will be looked down upon." Lin Feng nodded. The reward, on top of the special newcomer, was that he would directly qualify for the finals of the 7th Hidden Sovereign Assembly. In other words, he did not need to participate in the preliminaries, semifinals, or elimination rounds. After all, with his current strength, it would be difficult for him to advance through the knockout round, let alone the finals. All of the newcomer experts who had advanced to the finals were at the peak of the Divine Master Realm, and he was still far from that level. "By the way, is there anything you need from me?" Lin Feng asked. He, Yuan Shiyu, and Yang had joined the 7th Mercenary Alliance around the same time. The two of them had attended the banquet to celebrate his arrival. After more than 4,000 years of interaction, their relationship had naturally become better and better. "It's nothing, I just wanted to remind you that it's almost time," Yuan Shiyu said. "What time?" Lin Feng was confused. Yang giggled. "The time to enter the Hidden Sovereign training camp, Big Brother Lin." "Oh right." Lin Feng couldn't help but laugh when he thought about it. He had spent more than 4,000 years studying the compatibility of treasures without realizing it. Lin Feng looked at Yuan Shiyu. "How much time do we have before we depart?" "Less than a year." Yuan Shiyu looked at Yang. The latter nodded slightly, her curved eyebrows looking very cute. Lin Feng nodded. "Then I'll make some preparations." "What preparations?" Yuan Shiyu was puzzled. Lin Feng said, "I'll have to go to Venerable Heao's place to get the Origin Life Fluid. I'll be gone for at least 10,000 years. After saying this, Lin Feng teleported away. Yuan Shiyu and Yang exchanged glances, both of them slightly stunned. "Get the Origin Life Fluid? Didn't we just get it?" Yuan Shiyu asked. He and Yang were both grade 1 geniuses, so they could get 10 bottles each time. One bottle could last them an era. If they used it faster, 10 bottles could last them 3 or 4 eras. "I haven't finished absorbing the first bottle yet," Yang said softly. "Maybe Big Brother Lin absorbed it faster. After entering the Hidden Sovereign training camp, 10 bottles won't be enough, so he wants to get more." "No." Yuan Shiyu's eyes widened. "Brother Lin is a special grade genius. He got 100 bottles each time." Xing Feng Branch, Planet L. "Almost used up?" Venerable Heao stared at Lin Feng with his eyes wide open in shock. "No, there's still a lot left," Lin Feng said. Honorable Heao heaved a sigh of relief. "I thought you were about to run out. Using only 100 bottles of Source Life Fluid in 4,500 years is too much. You're going to the Hidden Sovereign training camp, right?" "Yes, you should prepare more." Lin Feng smiled. "Yes, there are still 20 bottles left." Venerable Hieo was stunned. He turned to Lin Feng and said, "You're joking, right?" "No, Lord Hieo, there are still 28 bottles left." Lin Feng said, "So, I need more. Can you give me about 500 bottles?" "You used 72 bottles in 4,500 years." Venerable Hieo was stunned. 1 bottle in 62 years. What did that mean? Those genius powerhouses would only use a single bottle of origin life fluid every 10,000 years per epoch. For some, an entire epoch might not even be enough. But Lin Feng had only used 62 years to use a single bottle. What kind of bloodline was this? You monster. Venerable Hieo was speechless. After a long time, he took out 500 bottles of origin life liquid and put them in his storage ring. He handed them to Lin Feng. 500 bottles should be enough, right? Venerable Hieo sounded confused. He didn't know what he was talking about. He had never given out 500 bottles of origin life liquid in one go. The problem was that he didn't even know if 500 bottles were enough for Lin Feng. "It should be enough," Lin Feng said. 500 bottles was enough for him to use for 30,000 years. His plan was to stay in the hidden sovereign training camp for 2 to 3 eras until he reached the Venerable Realm. Then, he would head to the Yellow Spring Secret Realm. There was no need for him to take more. 500 bottles were just right. The 30,000 years time limit would be better for him to push himself. "Thank you, Venerable Hieo." Lin Feng took the bottles of origin life liquid and left. Venerable Hieo smiled bitterly and shook his head. He couldn't calm down for a long time. In the 7th Mercenary Alliance, those who use 1 bottle of origin life liquid in less than 100 years will all become big shots after breaking through to the Venerable Realm. "Godly Venerables, Yuan Venerables," Venerable Hieo murmured. Chapter 2394. The time had come. "Is everyone here?" Reverend Cloud Crane squinted his eyes and said with a smile. He had the demeanor of a transcendent being and looked very kind. He was a Monster Clan Reverend and his original form was a crane in the clouds. Lin Feng scanned the crowd and saw that there were more than 100 cultivators and all of them were very young. The 5 great leaders had recruited the exceptional geniuses, level 1 geniuses, level 2 geniuses, and ordinary geniuses. The exceptional geniuses and level 1 geniuses were not all powerful. The ordinary geniuses were all high-level divine lords or even peak divine lords. Among the 100 cultivators, there were only 3 exceptional geniuses, 12 level 1 geniuses, 25 level 2 geniuses, and the rest were all ordinary geniuses. These talented high-level divine lords and peak divine lord experts were all like wolves and tigers, and their gazes were fixed on the other practitioners. They also wanted to become level 2 geniuses and level 1 geniuses to get better treatment. Everyone wanted to climb up the ranks. The competition in the training camp will be very intense. Lin Feng could feel the hostility behind him. It was a strong sense of competition. It was a sense of urgency and uneasiness from being chased by others. "Aren't you worried?" The other 2 exceptional geniuses, Chess Demon Shun and Wu Gu, looked calm. However, the level 1 geniuses and level 2 geniuses were all very serious. They wanted to climb up the ranks and protect themselves at the same time. They did not want to be chased by the tigers and wolves behind them. "Lord Cloud Crane, we can go now. Don't worry about those who are not here." Chess Demon Shin's voice was as cold as his body temperature. This expert from the Demon Clan was from the 7th times Emptiness Realm. He had joined the 7th Mercenary Alliance earlier than Lin Feng. "Kaka, those who are not here are just some cowards," Wu Gu sneered. All the bones in his body seemed to be trembling. The 2 lumps of flesh on his protruding forehead looked very disgusting. He looked very ugly. However, Wu Gu's power was top-notch. He was not any weaker than Chess Demon Shun. He had joined the 7th Mercenary Alliance 3,000 years after Lin Feng and was also an exceptional genius. Reverend Cloud Crane smiled. He did not mind Chess Demon Shun and Wu Gu's arrogance. They had the power to be arrogant. Let's go. Venerable Cloud Crane said calmly. A celestial wind blew, and a white cloud supported over 100 geniuses. It was a peak heavenly Tao supreme treasure. Soon, the group of cultivators was brought into the golden light tunnel. Come with me. Venerable Cloud Crane opened the golden light passage. This was a passage that only venerables could open. It led from the Xingfeng astral realm to the seventh god realm. The seventh god realm was a place where only venerables could reside. However, Divine Master Realm experts were still qualified to enter it, but they could only step into the lower region, as they were unable to touch the upper region where the venerables lived. It was like a huge mountain, and Divine Master Realm experts could only linger at the foot of it. This was the rule and also the pride of the Venerable One. While everyone entered the golden passage. Bang! 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 His heartbeat quickened. That was the trembling of his soul. It was as if he was about to enter an unknown and powerful world. It was enough to deeply shock his soul. It was like the heavens, an incomparable existence. Lin Feng's face was solemn, and he held his breath. His face was as serious as the chess devil Shun and Wu Gu beside him. Although the two of them were arrogant, they were only arrogant in front of ordinary geniuses. In the seventh god realm, they would not dare to be arrogant even if they were given 10,000 gut. That was the end of the 29999 astral realms. It was the heaven realm, the god realm. Venerables that were unreachable lived in the seventh god realm. They were like gods that looked down on all living beings. And now they were about to enter the god realm. Finally, a voice that he had not heard for a long time sounded, with a trace of sobbing and indescribable excitement. It sounded directly in the depths of Lin Feng's heart, affecting Lin Feng's emotions. It was the 10,000 origin mustard stone. Yuan. Grandpa, Grandpa! Yuan burst into tears, as if he was recalling the sad past. The moment he stepped into the seventh god realm, Yuan woke up. Or rather, he had been awake all along. Lin Feng had a feeling that Yuan was not really asleep. He was also cultivating in the 10,000 origin mustard stone. When he was still weak, Yuan had given him a lot of help. After that, he fell asleep because he did not want to interfere with his growth. It was like an eagle pushing its chicks down the cliff and letting them learn to fly. One had to walk their own path. Lin Feng knew Yuan very well. The sobbing became softer and softer until it disappeared. Lin Feng's expression was still calm. He did not talk to Yuan, nor did he comfort Yuan because there was no need to. Yuan was very smart and mature. He did not need to be comforted. If Yuan wanted to talk to him, he would definitely speak. Since he did not say anything, it meant that he did not want to talk. There was no need to force him. Venerable Wan Yuan, Lin Feng murmured. He used to live in the seventh god realm. How did he die later? Lin Feng had a rough idea. Yuan's grief had given him a lot of information. It was not hard to deduce that Yuan's grandfather, Venerable Wan Yuan, had been killed by other venerables. After all, there were very few who could kill a venerable. Other than a few extremely terrifying universe secret regions, there were very few places in the universe that venerables could not go. The deaths of venerable ones were often caused by battles and the enmity between them. If there is a chance, I will seek justice for Venerable Wan Yuan. Lin Feng was a person who remembered kindness. He had fused with the 10,000 origin mustard stone since he was young. It had helped him a lot and saved his life countless times. Of course, he had to repay this kindness. Yuan, wait for me to become a venerable, Lin Feng said to himself. It was not only Venerable Wan Yuan's justice. There was also the image in his mind. Ancestor Wan Gan was surrounded and attacked. The death of a top warrior who stood at the limit of the universe was also an unsolved mystery. One day, he would get to the bottom of this, but just like avenging his teacher, Sovereign True Dragon, he had to wait until he was strong enough to do it. The Golden Light Passage was very long. After traveling through endless time and space, and even out of the universe, they finally arrived at a brand new world. It was a place where everything was clear and the heavenly Tao laws appeared in the void. Here, the heavenly Tao laws could be seen clearly everywhere. Here, the universe was like a painting that appeared clearly in front of them. In this place, everything seemed so insignificant. This place was very close to the heavenly Tao. This was the center of the universe, the seventh God realm. Lin Feng stood in place and looked at the boundless universe. He was deeply shocked. Chapter 2395. Naturally, Lin Feng was not the only one who was shocked. The chess devil Shun and Wu Gu, who were both exceptional geniuses, widened their eyes. The knowledgeable Prince Wen Yu, the first-grade genius He Jishi, and the other geniuses all held their breaths as they stared at the world of the heavenly Tao. This was the place where the venerables lived, the seventh divine world. Venerable Cloud Crane smiled as he looked at the new geniuses without disturbing them. It was the same every time he brought new geniuses here. It was their first time entering the seventh divine world, so it was inevitable that they would be shocked. It was like a group of frogs jumping out of a well and seeing the real sky. Wasn't he the same when he came here for the first time? Lord Cloud Crane, is the place where the venerables live above? Lin Feng pointed to the sky. In the sky, countless light years away, one could vaguely see dots that were smaller than dust. Yes. Venerable Cloud Crane squinted his eyes and smiled. The venerables are above. You can see you if you look down. The geniuses became nervous. Chess Demon Shun snorted. Don't flatter yourself. No venerables would be bored enough to come and see you. What are you talking about? How powerful are you? All of them were high-level divine lords and peak divine lords, so they didn't need to fear the chess demon Shun, who was an exceptional genius. Chess Demon Shun sneered. Isn't that right? Those who are not venerables are all ants. Isn't the place where ants stand now? Everyone was speechless. The vast land was vast and boundless, and his existence was indeed like an ant. All right, don't belittle yourself. Venerable Cloud Crane came out to smooth things over. Being able to join the 7th Mercenary Alliance is enough to prove your potential. You are all capable and qualified to become venerables. The Hidden Venerable Training Camp is the best ladder. As long as you are willing to work hard and persevere, you can become venerables. Supremacy Cloud Crane had a smile on his face as his gaze landed on Chess Fiend Shun. The latter was about to open his mouth, but he immediately shut it. He did not dare to bicker with a Supremacy. Supremacy Cloud Crane might look amiable, but he was a demon expert. Just like demon clan experts, monster clan experts had bad tempers. Hidden Revered Star Training Camp. Lin Feng was also looking forward to it. After arriving at the 7th Divine World, he became even more excited. Just the competition among the 100 geniuses from Xing Feng's astral world was already extremely intense, not to mention the other 29,998 astral worlds. This was only the number of newcomers in one era. In the Hidden Venerable Training Camp, some geniuses who had been there for 10 eras or even dozens of eras. Lord Yunhe, may I ask, how many experts are there in the Hidden Revered Training Camp? One of the genius experts asked. Not much. Venerable Cloud Crane smiled. About 10 million. Everyone swallowed their saliva, feeling extremely shocked. Not many? 10 million experts, was that not a lot? We are going to survive among 10 million experts? The expressions of the group of genius experts were slightly unsightly because they clearly knew that they were the group that was at the bottom of the pile. They was the one who had the highest was the venerable cultivator. It was already difficult to survive, and it was even more difficult to continue climbing up the ranks. Haha, there's no way out. Cowards, wipe your necks clean. Wu Gu laughed and his eyes were full of mockery. Get lost. What are you talking about? You're the one who's a coward. The group of geniuses had nowhere to vent their anger, so they immediately pointed their fingers at Wu Gu. Wu Gu sneered sarcastically, completely ignoring those geniuses. There's no point in talking. Let's go. Chess Demon Shin said coldly. Are we going to stand out among the 10 million experts and become the number one? Lin Feng looked at the distant sky and was full of fighting spirit. One day, I will stand on this sky and look down on everything. In the 7th Divine World, the hidden venerable training camp. Haha, the newcomers are coming. Let's eat to our heart's content. It's time to bully the newbies again. The newcomers are here to deliver points. Ha! Don't be happy too early. Who told you that newcomers are easy to bully? Be careful not to fail miserably. Isn't the training camp's precedent enough? Look at those newcomers. They are like wolves and tigers. How can they be easy to deal with? The hidden venerable training camp was bustling with noise. A batch of old people had left. Those who were promoted and those who were eliminated were either elites or tenacious survivors. They were experienced and ruthless. They were much more powerful than the newcomers. Ranking. This was the most important thing in the hidden venerable training camp. An era had ended. Those who were ranked in the top 300,000 would become second-grade geniuses. Those who were ranked in the top 100,000 would become first-grade geniuses. Those who were ranked in the top 10,000 would become special-grade geniuses and enjoy the treatment of special-grade geniuses. Those who were ranked in the top 1,000 would be qualified to be accepted as disciples by the venerables. Those who were ranked in the top 100 would be accepted as disciples by the venerables. Those who were ranked in the top 10 would be nurtured to become venerables by the 7th Mercenary Alliance. Those who were ranked in the top 3 would be nurtured by the 7th Mercenary Alliance. They would be the special grade geniuses and core members. Those who were ranked in the top 1 would be given an extreme heavenly Tao treasure if they were at level 80 or above. All the rankings would be recorded by the Virtual Time Company's top AI. This was the cradle of the 7th Mercenary Alliance's venerables. Countless venerables would be born in the hidden venerable training camp every era. Many of them were core members who would be nurtured by the 7th Mercenary Alliance. The number of venerables born here was much more than the Heaven Bright secret domain. Of course, the death rate was also relatively high. Every big shot had their own nurturing methods. For example, the Virtual Time Company was more civilized and used the nurturing of elites. For example, the God Murdering Tower was more strict and used the death elimination method. The 7th Mercenary Alliance had both. It was located in the middle and gave the newcomers more freedom to choose. You could choose to cultivate peacefully or choose to break through all obstacles to improve. It was the master who led the way, but the cultivation depended on the person. This is the hidden venerable training camp. Under the lead of Venerable Cloud Crane, Lin Feng and the other genius experts finally stepped into the mysterious and powerful cradle of venerables of the 7th Mercenary Alliance. There were huge fortresses, mysterious palaces shrouded in starlight, and groups of sealed lantern buildings. Everything here was mysterious and novel. There were many cultivators' auras. All of them were divine masters. Almost all of them were upper divine masters and peak divine masters. There was no peak heavenly god aura like Lin Feng. They're finally here. Lin Feng looked over and his heart beat faster. He would spend a long time here in the future and enjoy the fun of competition. Chapter 2396. The Hidden Night Training Camp is divided into 5 districts and 5 regions. The 5 districts are the Time District, Space District, Universe District, King Kong District, and other districts. This is where you live and train. Killing is prohibited. Violators will be killed. The 5 districts represent the 5 directions to become a knight. You can choose which district you want to enter, but you can change it at any time. Remember, choose the direction you want to become a knight carefully. You can maximize your benefits in the Hidden Night Training Camp. Venerable Cloud Crane slowly said. The 5 districts were for Time Knight, Space Knight, Universe Knight, King Kong Knight, and Other Knight. There were more types of knights, but they were few in number. The first 4 types of knights were the most common. Which district should he choose? Lin Feng had not made a clear decision. The 5 regions are Dangerous Sky District, Treasure District, Combat District, Hunting District, and Survival District. Unlike the 5 districts, you must enter the 5 regions, and there is a time limit. You are not allowed to kill each other in Dangerous Sky District and Treasure District. The 5 regions are monitored by top AI. No matter where you are or what you do, the AI will record it in detail. So, don't try to challenge the rules of the training camp. The 7th Mercenary Alliance has no lack of geniuses. Those who break the rules of the training camp die. Cloud Crane Knight said with a smile, but his voice sent chills down people's spines. As a great knight of the Demon Clan, Cloud Crane Knight was not easy to deal with. In fact, how many knights were kind? You can check the specific rules of the training camp after entering the 5 district. Cloud Crane Knight smiled. The gate of the Hidden Knight training camp is only open for 100 years in every era. You can enter or leave within 100 years. Of course, if you become a knight, you will have to leave. If you don't meet the basic requirements of the training camp, you will be eliminated. See you in the next era. Cloud Crane Knight's voice lingered like clouds. Cloud Crane Knight glanced at the crowd and stopped at Lin Feng, Chess Demon Shen, and Wu Gu for a while before disappearing. His mission was completed. All the geniuses sighed, and the shock in their hearts hadn't completely calmed down. Presently, it was as if they'd suddenly been brought to an unfamiliar place, and they didn't know what to do next. They were completely bewildered. A bunch of trash. The Chess Demon Shen sneered. His figure streaked across the sky like a stream of light as he headed straight for the Diamond District. Demon powerhouses were best at strength. They had tyrannical innate abilities, and most of them became Vajra venerables. Cowards, take your time to think about it. Wu Gu cackled. His body twisted strangely, and the space laws vibrated as he flew towards the space district. Clearly, his goal was to become a space sovereign. As the Chess Devil Shern and Wu Gu entered, the other geniuses quickly made their choices. After all, Venerable Cloud Crane had already made it very clear that he could choose whichever path he wanted to take and which type of venerable he wanted to become. It was simple and straightforward. Brother Lin, where are you going? Yuan Xiu and O Yangyi moved closer to Lin Feng. The 3 of them were the most familiar with each other and were good friends. The other geniuses were also discussing amongst themselves. I haven't decided yet. What about you guys? Asked Lin Feng. Yuan Xiu looked at O Yangyi. The little fox wagged her tail and smiled sweetly. I'm definitely going to other districts. O Yangyi was a great being from the demon race. Usually, great beings from the demon race would become universe knights or Vajra venerables. There were also some who would become space knights or time knight. Depending on their innate talents, there were more of them than great beings from the demon race. After being together for more than 4,000 years, Lin Feng naturally knew the path of cultivation of the little fox, O Yangyi. She majored in soul cultivation and walked the path of Demon Soul Knight. This path was not easy to walk, just like one thought knight of the human race. The soul of the human race was more well-rounded, while the soul of the demon race was more unconventional. The little fox, O Yangyi, was best at illusions, bewitchment, and charm. Her combat ability was actually not very strong, but her cultivation of Time Sky Path was not bad, so she was considered a level 1 genius. I haven't decided either. Yuan Xiu scratched his head and said, My Space Sky Path realm is not bad, and my cultivation of Wanxiang Sky Path has reached a certain level. I'm not sure if I'll become a Space Knight or a Universe Knight. Lin Feng smiled. Compared to Yuan Xiu, he was even more vague. His space and time attainments could break through to become a knight, not to mention Vajra Knight. He originally had a perfect Hundun body, so breaking through would be a piece of cake. Besides, his soul was strong enough. If he wanted to go to other regions to cultivate, it would be easy for him to become a one-thought knight. And his Wanxiang sky path was the 9 heavens of light and darkness. If he continued to cultivate, he would become a universe knight. He could go to any of the 5 regions. You decide, Brother Lin. Yuan Shiyu puffed out his chest and said, "Wherever you go, I'll go with you. Anyway, we can change regions at any time. We've just entered the hidden night training camp, so we'll have company together." Okay. Lin Feng nodded to Yuan Shiyu. As a prince, Yuan Shiyu's EQ was quite high. With his current strength, he couldn't help him much. Yuan Shiyu's combat ability was enough to rank in the top 10 among the 100 cultivators in crossing Feng astral sector. He was stronger than Chess Devil Shun and Wu Gu. But in front of Lin Feng, he didn't show it at all. Instead, he was like a follower. Too smart. It was actually very comfortable to get along with such a person. Then let's go to the universe region. There are the most humans there, so it'll be more comfortable. Lin Feng made his decision. Just as Yuan Shiyu said, they could change regions at any time. There was no rush. The direction of the universe region was towards Universe Night. They were great beings who cultivated the Wanxiang sky path. Normally, there were many great beings from the human race, but there were also many great beings from the demon race. I think so too. Yuan Shiyu laughed loudly. Then let's part here. Lin Feng and Yuan Shiyu said goodbye to Ouyang. Be careful on your own. Get used to the training camp first. Don't rush to the hunting area. I know, Brother Lin, Brother Kuei. You guys too. Ouyang wagged her tail and smiled sweetly. Let's hope she can survive, Lin Feng said. Don't worry, Xiaoyi is smart. In terms of strength, she's not strong, but in terms of survival skills, she's first class. Let's worry about ourselves. Yuan Shiyu laughed loudly. Especially you, Brother Lin. You're a special grade genius with an extremely high score. I'm afraid I'll become everyone's target, Lin Feng said softly. Brother Yuan, you seem to know a lot. Of course, I have to do my homework first. Yuan Shiyu laughed heartily and strode forward. Let's go, let's go. Let's go to the universe region and find a good place to stay. Lin Feng smiled and followed Yuan Shiyu into the universe region. Chapter 2397. The 7th God Realm was billions of times larger than a star. There were no boundaries here. Many rare flowers, trees, and rare spirit beasts grew on the vast land. There were also many ordinary people living here, and many disciples of venerables cultivated here. Ordinary venerables naturally didn't have any special privileges, but Huang Zun, godly venerables, and even stronger Yuan venerables had more privileges. Would ordinary venerables dare to say anything about what godly venerables and Yuan venerables wanted to do? The 5 big shots enjoyed a considerable status in the 7th God Realm. This was because they had many members. A large number of venerables and a pyramid-shaped venerables system were much stronger than those independent venerables. Therefore, the other venerables turned a blind eye to what the 5 big shots did in the 7th God Realm as long as it wasn't too excessive. After all, the lowest land was just a place for ants to live. The venerables didn't care that much. Those guys from the God Slayer training camp are really strong. Nonsense, they came from the underground God Slayer field. Every one of them is a powerhouse who has been tempered by life and death situations and is extremely good at fighting. Compared to their training camp, ours is too mild. I heard that there is killing every moment there. We can't let our guard down even in the resting area. Is that true? That's too scary. I don't know. I feel like we are scared of being killed. Many of our members have formed teams to hide from the God Slayer training camp's cultivators. Lin Feng and Yuan Shiyu stepped into the universe zone. The 5 zones were in the shape of a rhombus. The front of the rhombus, where Lin Feng and the rest of the cultivators came from, was the lower realm's teleportation channel. The other side was also the lower realm's teleportation channel, but it was from the top to the bottom. Those who were eliminated and those who met the requirements to advance would leave from that side. All the teleportation channels were one way. After entering the universe zone, their vision gradually widened and they could no longer see the other 4 zones. The 2 sides of the rhombus were filled with residential areas. There were all kinds of houses and buildings that satisfied the needs of different geniuses. If they needed, they could also buy them with hidden revered points. However, not many powerhouses would waste their precious hidden revered points on this. Brother G, do you know what the Godslayer training camp is? Lin Feng asked. Yuan Shiyu nodded his head. One of the 5 great leaders, Murdering God Tower's rookie training camp, has a long-term cooperation with our hidden revered training camp. Oh! Lin Feng's eyes brightened. He had thought that the Hidden Zone training camp was only for their own training, but it turned out that there were other forces as well. Well, it was a good thing to promote and compete with each other. That day, Senior Wu Sanjian had asked him to choose between the Time Void Realm Survival Challenge or the Underground King God Slaughtering Field held by the God Slaughtering Tower. Both of them had the same effect, but the Underground God Slaying Ground was more brutal, and the massacre was more intense. I don't know much about it either. Yuan Yu said, however, when the end of each era approaches, the survival domain will open for 100 years. The newbies of the Deicide training camp and our side will enter at the same time and begin the slaughter. Lin Feng nodded. He didn't understand it before. If the practitioners of the 7th Mercenary Alliance were to kill each other, wouldn't there be a lot of hatred in the future? But now he understood that it wasn't his own people who would kill each other, but the newbies of the Deicide training camp. That was another matter altogether. The Universe Bank, Space 30,000 Worlds, and Time Virtual Company all felt that this training camp was too cruel, so they didn't organize it. Therefore, only the Murdering God Tower and our 7th Mercenary Alliance did it. However, the 7th Mercenary Alliance at least has a choice. You can peacefully cultivate in the secret realm, but if you want to climb up and become more outstanding, you will naturally have to pay the corresponding price. Yuan Shiyu said indifferently. A general success is built on thousands of bones. How can success be easy? There was a faint vicissitude and insight between his brows. As a prince, he appeared to be laughing on the surface, but his heart was incomparably clear. That's right. Lin Feng agreed. Whatever you choose, you will have to pay the price. So what if you can become a venerable without being startled? A venerable who has never experienced a real cruel battle. When facing those experienced venerables who licked blood on the blade, you won't even know how you died. Blood and battle were the path of the strong. Godslayer Training Camp. Lin Feng's lips curled into a faint smile. The Hidden Sovereign Training Camp was much more interesting than he had imagined. From the conversations of the geniuses when he first entered, he could tell that the newcomers of the Hidden Sovereign Training Camp were clearly stronger than the ones here. Everyone's origin was actually similar, and they were all talents selected from various astral realms. The difference was that the selection method was different, and the newbies had different experiences. Brother Lin, do you prefer a quieter place or a more lively place? Yuan Shiyu asked. What's the difference? Lin Feng asked. Yuan Shiyu smiled and said, a more lively place is near the center of the universe zone. All kinds of facilities are there, and there are more accommodations. There are more geniuses gathered there, and everyone can interact better. A quieter place is a triangular area on both sides of the universe zone. It is rather secluded and seems more suitable for cultivation. Haha, but there is no difference in terms of cultivation. It's just that many cultivators simply prefer a quiet cultivation environment. I'm fine with either. Lin Feng didn't have any requirements for this. Yuan Shiyu muttered, then let's go closer to the center. It will be more convenient to go to the various cultivation facilities. Since we are new here, it might not be a bad thing to interact and chat with other geniuses. An era has just passed, and there is 100 years to adjust. Many cultivators will leave, and many rooms will be empty. Otherwise, the center is usually very popular. How can there be any empty rooms? Lin Feng smiled and said, "We seem to be here early. Since we have decided to go to the center, let's not waste time and just teleport there, Brother Lin," Yuan Shiyu said. "Okay." In just a few days, Lin Feng and Yuan Shiyu were close to the center. Just as Yuan Shiyu said, this place was much more lively than the triangular area on both sides. All kinds of cultivators could be seen everywhere, taking advantage of this 100 years to relax and recuperate. Of course, a large number of them were still cultivating silently. There were also some who were still deciding whether to leave or stay for another era. It was lively and busy. There were all kinds of races in the universe zone. Of course, most of them were human cultivators. "Quick, Brother Lin!" Yuan Shiyu's eyes lit up and he laughed loudly. "There are 2 cultivators over there who are preparing to leave. Look, the indicator light in front of the room is lit up." Lin Feng glanced over and teleported over directly. "Mine!" An arrogant and angry voice suddenly came from beside him. Chapter 2398. It was a young man with brown eyes. He had messy hair and an arrogant aura. He arrived in front of the indicator almost at the same time as Lin Feng. His angry voice was overbearing, as if everyone was afraid of him. Every house had an indicator with a number on it. At the same time, it was also the number of the newcomer. As long as one inserted a bit of energy, the house would automatically recognize the owner and send all the information back to the top AI. Every era, the house and information could be changed once. Pung! Their eyes met. Lin Feng's powerful soul power naturally had the upper hand. Even though they teleported at the same time, Lin Feng's hand was quicker to press the indicator light due to the contest of spiritual power. Almost instantly, the indicator light with the number 8484 dimmed, indicating that the house had an owner. Beside him, the house with the number 8483 also had an owner. Yuan Shiyu grinned. "You're courting death." The brown-eyed young man glared at Lin Feng. He was angry that he didn't get the house and felt extremely uncomfortable because he was inferior to Lin Feng in the mental power contest. He was the son of the Ka Yi clan's leader from the Yuan Shiyu astral boundary. He was one of the best in the astral boundary in terms of strength and status. He was a grade 1 genius, and after going through 5 epochs of training camps, he had sharpened his teeth and claws. In the previous epoch, his ranking had reached 18799, and he was very close to the top 10,000 of the super geniuses. Therefore, he wanted to get a house with a number within 10,000. It was a good sign. After walking around for a few days, he still couldn't find a house. After all, there were many other cultivators who wanted to snatch a good house with him. "Is that so?" Lin Feng looked at the brown-eyed young man indifferently. He had always been amenable to persuasion but not coercion. If the brown-eyed young man was friendly and gave him the house, he would have given it to him. He didn't care about these empty things anyway. However, he was so overbearing and arrogant. He wouldn't give it to him. He came to the Hidden Saint training camp to improve and strengthen himself. Who was afraid of who? "I'm Ka Si from the Yuan Shiyu astral boundary. Remember?" The brown-eyed youth, Kabir, stared fixedly at Lin Feng with a wolf-like gaze, carrying a baleful aura and threat. "Very soon, you will regret your actions today." Lin Feng couldn't help but smile. "Okay, I'll wait for you." The brown-eyed young man, Kabir, let out an ear-piercing sound as he directly teleported away. He was humiliated in front of so many people, so naturally, he would not let this go. There would be plenty of opportunities in the training camp. Ha, this newcomer sure has guts. He even dares to offend Kabir. Isn't that so? Kabishan is famous for being vengeful. Those geniuses who offended him in the past were all killed by him. There's nothing we can do about it. We're newcomers, after all. How can we know so much when we're new here? All of us are top geniuses from various astral realms. We're all proud and arrogant. Who would be willing to submit to anyone? If you guys had just arrived, you definitely wouldn't have given in either. You'll naturally know once you've suffered enough. These jackals, wolves, tigers, and leopards in the training camp are not good people. There were many cultivators around, and they had all been here for a few epochs. They naturally recognized Kabir, who was famous on the ranking board. His rank of 18,799 was actually not low. Soon, he would be able to squeeze into the top 10,000 and enjoy the special treatment of a genius. After all, there were about 10 million cultivators in the entire training camp. The top 10,000 cultivators were equivalent to the strongest among every 1,000 cultivators. We seem to have caused trouble? Yuan Shiyu smiled bitterly as he walked over. Lin Feng chuckled. This is nothing. Yuan Shiyu's gaze swept around. This Kabir seems to have a powerful background. Lin Feng said, there are more than 10 million cultivators in the training camp. It's not easy to find one. The 5 great districts also don't allow killing each other. So what if he hates me? Moreover, I've never cared about him. If he had been targeted by a venerable now, he might have panicked a little. He was also a divine master in the training camp, so what was there to be afraid of? Yuan Shiyu smiled bitterly and shook his head. All right, we've been unlucky. Brother Lin, refine the hidden revered Luo crystal first. Every room has its own set. Your hidden revered Luo crystal number is the room number. I'm 8483. I'll add you as a friend later and you can contact me directly. All right. Lin Feng nodded. Yuan Shiyu had indeed done his homework. He knew more than he did. Yuan Shiyu smiled. The AI in the room will be able to find this information. We came early, so we still have 100 years to rest. The 5 great districts and 5 great districts are not open yet. All right, I'll contact you later. Lin Feng didn't say much and immediately entered room 8484. The dim indicator light flashed a faint light to verify his identity. A green light enveloped Lin Feng. The rooms in the 5 great districts were perfectly controlled by the top AI. Other than the room owner, no other cultivators could enter. Lin Feng did not have high requirements for the rooms. After all the rooms here had the same facilities. There was no difference in terms of cultivation. A special place for cultivation required hidden revered point. Therefore, it did not matter which room he chose. Speaking of which, this room is not bad. The room's structure was very clear. It was connected by spatial runes. Each room had its own universe. The outside of the room did not look big, but the inside of the room was 100 times bigger than what the naked eye could see. The pure white crystal style of the building was made of metal. It was very clean and neat. Not bad. Lin Feng was very satisfied. The first thing he saw after entering the room was a crystal pillar. It was high and low like a blooming lotus. It gave off a beautiful light. It was hard not to notice it. On top of the lotus flower, there was a transparent crystal the size of a fist. On top of it were the numbers 8484, which were as clear and translucent as the ripples in the water. This should be the hidden revered Luo crystal that Brother Ran was talking about. Lin Feng picked up the crystal and quickly refined it. This was just a normal treasure. With the power of a god lord, refining it was very easy. Instantly, a lot of information came out of the hidden revered Luo crystal and entered his mind. Lin Feng, Xing Feng Division, Special Class Genius. Training Camp Number 8484. Hidden Revered Points 1000. His information appeared clearly. The hidden revered Luo crystal was connected to the top AI. It had complete information and functions, including the facilities of the 5 great districts, maps of the 5 great districts, communication functions, etc. However, the hidden revered Luo crystal did not have any AI functions. In the room, there was another AI that could be used to check and exchange functions. Ding, a sound rang in his mind. It was a friend request from the training camp number 8483. You're quite fast. Lin Feng smiled and added Ran Yu. Chapter 2399. Haha, Brother Lin, have you gotten the hang of it? Yuan Shiyu's hearty laughter resounded in his mind. A bit, Lin Feng sent his thoughts over. I was just trying to figure it out and you already added me as a friend. Hee hee, Yuan Shiyu laughed. Let's number the rooms next to each other. I hope I can get some of your luck. Lin Feng laughed involuntarily. My ranking in the first era wasn't high. Yuan Shiyu said, That's hard to say, you're a special grade genius. The hidden revered training camp is very good for special grade geniuses. Not only can you enter all the facilities for free, you'll also get 1,000 hidden revered points. Lin Feng was surprised. I didn't look at it carefully. How many hidden revered points do you have? 100. Yuan Shiyu said, Level 2 geniuses have 10, normal newbies only have 1 hidden revered point. Lin Feng realized. 4 grades, 10 times difference, that's a huge difference. Although he didn't know what hidden revered points were used for, since Yuan Shiyu placed so much importance on it, it wasn't normal. He would know after looking through the top AI's information. Right, Brother Lin, please add me as a friend. Yuan Shiyu said, Hidden revered Luo Jing can check your friend's location. It's usually used when adventuring in the 5 regions, but some cultivators have ulterior motives, so it's better to be careful. You should be able to turn off location checking, right? Lin Feng said. Yuan Shiyu said, Yes, but there's always a chance you might forget. Thank you. Lin Feng said, I'm busy now, I'll contact you later. Okay. The call was cut off. Lin Feng turned off the communication function. After all, it would be a headache if he was interrupted while cultivating. Furthermore, he needed some time alone to understand the functions of hidden revered Luo Jing and the rules of the hidden revered training camp. A new era, a new ranking. Everything from before was reset. The last era's ranking directly received the reward. Some left, some stayed. Lin Feng looked through the AI's information about the hidden revered training camp. There were clear records of the 5 regions. Just like Yuan Shiyu said, it didn't matter if he didn't understand before. He had 100 years. He had plenty of time. Hidden revered points, got it? Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Just as Yuan Shiyu said, newcomers would receive a considerable amount of Qian revered points the first time, especially special grade geniuses who would receive 1,000 Qian revered points. However, they would have to rely on themselves to earn more Qian revered points. You can obtain hidden revered points if you meet the requirements of the cultivation facilities in the 5 Great District. Obtained hidden revered points from Dangerous Heaven Region and Hunting Region. Qian Zun points can be used to enter various cultivation facilities and exchange for treasures. Lin Feng quickly flipped through the list of treasures. They were similar to the treasures in the Survival Challenge, but their grades were much higher. Any of the treasures here would be on the 6th or 7th floor of the Survival Challenge treasure vault. They were quite precious. High-grade Heavenly Law Treasure, 10 Qian Zun. Peak Heavenly Law Treasure, 100 Qian Zun. Peak Heavenly Law Treasure, starting with 1,000 Qian Zun points. Lin Feng naturally had no interest in exchanging for the Heavenly Dao treasure. After all, he hadn't fully integrated the 7 Heavenly Law treasures yet, so exchanging for them wouldn't be of much use. For special grade geniuses, Qian Zun points only had one use, and that was to enter various cultivation facilities. And this was what the 7th Mercenary Alliance wanted to see. With enough bloodline power and material resources, the greatest obstacle and shackle for special grade geniuses was their cultivation base. 500 Qian Zun points can be exchanged for a Death Immortal Puppet. This is useful. Lin Feng quickly found another treasure that needed to be exchanged. The Death Immortal Puppet's function was similar to that of the Death Doll during the Survival Challenge. The only difference was that the power it could withstand was much stronger than that of the Death Doll. Not only could it block physical attacks, it could also block soul attack. As long as the attack didn't exceed the sovereign level, the death immortal puppet could die for him once. No wonder Lady Bai Fu said that special grade geniuses get special treatment in the hidden revered training camp. Lin Feng finally understood. 500 Qian Zun points could be exchanged for 1,000 Qian Zun points could be exchanged for 2. Not to mention other things, special grade geniuses had 2 more lives than other newcomers. That was 2 lives. Actually, it's normal. Normal special grade geniuses are relatively weak. It's just that they have high potential and need time to grow. Lin Feng thought, with 1 death per era in the survival domain, special grade geniuses can at least stay safe for 2 eras. After 2 eras, if their battle strength can't reach the level where they can protect themselves, then the special grade genius's future will be limited. Of the 5 domains, only the hunting domain and the survival domain allowed for fatal fight. Therefore, the danger level was within a manageable range. Special grade genius, title reserved for 5 eras. First grade genius, title reserved for 4 eras. Second grade genius, title reserved for 3 eras. Every era is a training camp cycle. After it's over, there's 100 years of rest. Within these 100 years, you can use up your Qian Zun points and leave. You can also change your domain. For the rest of the time, unless you become a sovereign early, you can't leave. The 5 domains strictly forbid fighting, killing, and trespassing. Violators will be killed. Opening time of the 5 domains. The combat domain and the survival domain are only opened once per era, in the 4,900th and 9,900th years respectively, lasting for 100 years. The dangerous domain and the treasure domain are open for 5,000 years per era, shared with the god-slaying training camp. Every 1,000 years you can choose to enter. The dangerous domain is open from 0 to 1,000 years, 2,000 to 3,000 years, 4,000 to 4,900 years, 6,000 to 7,000 years, 8,000 to 9,000 years. The treasure domain is open from 1,000 to 2,000 years, 3,000 to 4,000 years, 5,000 to 6,000 years, 7,000 to 8,000 years, 9,000 to 9,900 years. The hunting domain is open without limit. There were many rules and regulations. Lin Feng read them carefully, because they were closely related to his life in the hidden Zun training camp. Only after he understood them could he make better arrangements, especially for the 5 domains. The dangerous domain, the treasure domain, the combat domain, the hunting domain, and the survival domain. The 5 domains were shared with the god-slaying training camp. The only difference was that the dangerous domain and the treasure domain were separated and didn't touch each other. Although the competition in the combat domain was fierce, it was controlled by the top AI, so it wouldn't harm one's life. Only the hunting domain and the survival domain had the highest death rate. The former was vast, dangerous, and open without limit. The death rate per unit of time was lower than the survival domain, but the overall death rate wasn't any lower than the survival domain. As for the latter, the last 100 years of an era, fighting to survive, how terrifying! Lin Feng sighed. For any expert, this wasn't just a test of strength and battle prowess, it was also a test of temperament and willpower. The survival domain was quite terrifying. Chapter 2400. The survival domain was set in the last 100 years. The intention was clear. Fight with your back to the river. No matter if it was to get a high score, to stay alive, or to advance, they all had to fight to the death in the last 100 years. There was no way out, and it would force the cultivator to the limit. Sometimes it would force out the full potential of a genius, including the current 100 years. In other words, I have a total of 10,000 years to prepare. After Lin Feng finished reading, he already had a rough idea in his heart. To him, the real threat was the survival domain competition in the last 100 years. As for the hunting domain, which also had a high mortality rate, special geniuses had the privilege of not entering it to cultivate. Of course, in the end, a lot of points would be deducted from the top AI score. With my current strength, I won't be able to get a good ranking in the first 2 eras. There's no difference between 100,000th and 10,000th. The only difference is some Qian Zun points. I already have 1,000 Qian Zun points, so it's not that important. Lin Feng sorted out his thoughts. Strictly speaking, he had 3 eras to prepare. Because he already had enough Qian Zun points to exchange for 2 death immortal puppets, which was enough to pass 2 survival domain challenges. However, this was a bit of a coward. If I have to use the death immortal puppet to enter the survival domain in the second era of the hidden revered training camp, that would be too sad. Lin Feng couldn't help but smile. After reading all the information, he directly spent 500 Qian Zun points to exchange for a death immortal puppet. He had to. It would be good to buy insurance, just like in the survival challenge, where he exchanged for a death doll. In this hidden revered training camp filled with geniuses and variables, no one knew what would happen in the next moment. It was always good to be prepared. I still have 500 Qian Zun points, use it slowly. The privilege of special geniuses, oh, let me see. Lin Feng's eyes lit up, and quickly found what Hu Jinyu said. Special geniuses could enter all the cultivation facilities in the 5 regions for free. This was a huge benefit. The cultivation facilities of the 5 great districts were the best of the best. Every genius wanted to enter, but they had to spend a lot of hidden revered points. Hidden revered points were not easy to earn. One had to enter the dangerous heaven region and the hunting heaven region. The former was dangerous, but the latter was even more dangerous. One could die at any moment. Although one could earn a lot, the danger level was also higher. As for the hidden revered points that could be obtained from the various cultivation facilities, the requirements were extremely harsh and normal geniuses could not meet them. Furthermore, you have to spend Qian Zun points to enter the cultivation facilities first. Universe area, 12 types of training facilities, costs at least 10 Qian revered points to 100 Qian revered points, and 12 types of facilities cost 450 Qian revered points. TSK, special grade geniuses are indeed treated well. Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat as he looked at the other 4 districts. So, when I enter the other 4 districts in the future, I can also enjoy the cultivation facilities of each district? If that's the case, earning 2,000 Qian Zun points for free is not bad. Every cultivation facility here was obtained by powerful beings from the depths of the universe's secret regions, and made with the highest technology of the 7th Mercenary Alliance. Not to mention buying them, one could not even see them. These were true treasures that only the 5 great Leviathans had, used to train geniuses to become sovereigns. Some of the facilities were even coveted by sovereigns. It's a pity that I can't use them now. Lin Feng wanted to immediately go and experience them, but this 100 years was a resting period, and the 5 great districts and 5 great districts were all resting, so he couldn't enter. It wasn't worth it to enter either. After all the facilities were connected to the top AI. If you reached a certain standard or requirement, or even broke a record, reaching the requirements for hidden revered points, the top AI would record it and give you a score. The score was extremely important. In the hidden revered training camp, there were no scores for training. Only when one entered the 5 great districts or trained in the facilities of the 5 great districts would the top AI record it and turn it into a score. After an era, the final ranking would be based on the score. 100 years, let's not waste it. Lin Feng flipped through the AI's information a few times and understood the rules of the hidden revered training camp, so there was no need to waste any more time. All that was left was to wait for the 100 years of rest before starting the real training. Although the 100 years of rest was short, one had to know that this was not only the hidden revered training camp, but also the 7th God realm. Just by looking up, one could see the changes of the heavenly Tao and the ripples of the laws. To put it bluntly, those with high comprehension could comprehend just by looking at the sky. This kind of training environment was not something the other star realms could compare to. Cultivating the heavenly Tao here for 100 years was much more efficient than cultivating in the Xingfeng star realm for 100,000 years. Although there is a perfect 10,000 times time training array in the training facility, there are still some other things mixed in, and the effect of comprehending the heavenly Tao will be much weaker. 10,000 years might not be more important than 1 year. Lin Feng was very clear about this. That was because, sometimes, one needed an epiphany. Thousands or even tens of thousands of years of epiphany would be stuck at the mountainside. No matter how long it took, it would be useless. On the other hand, once you reach the mountaintop, you might only need to take a look. Even if it was just one look, you would be able to comprehend it. This was the biggest difference. Realms and heavenly Tao required more comprehension at the later stages. I just entered the 7th God realm, and now is the best time. I've been at level 2 light and darkness for too long. If I can reach level 3 light and darkness, not only will my combat power take a big step forward, even my bloodline will break through and I will become a true God Master. By then, I will have the ability to survive in the hidden revered training camp and even climb up. Get the most precious gift. Lin Feng was very confident. The Thousand Heaven Path was one of the top 10,000 creations heavenly Tao. Although it was difficult, every level was extremely shocking. Level 2 light and darkness was comparable to a peak God Master. Level 3 light and darkness was comparable to a peak God Master. This was just the normal training state. With his current ability, perfect Hundan body and blade technique realm, once he reached level 3 light and darkness, he would be close to a peak God Master. Although he would not be able to dominate the hidden revered training camp, he would at least be able to gain a foothold and reach the top of the pyramid. Go and comprehend. Lin Feng had no distractions and directly cultivated. In the 5 districts, every room was the same. There was no cover at the top, and one could clearly see the entire universe, the evolution of the heavenly Tao, and the appearance of the laws. Different eyes, different innate abilities, and different cultivation levels allowed them to sense different heavenly Tao. Quietly, Lin Feng began cultivating in the hidden revered training camp. Chapter 2401. Light and darkness, the purest and most opposite. But they were both superior laws, part of the universe, so how could they not have something in common? It was just that his understanding of the heavenly Tao was too shallow, so he couldn't see it. The higher the realm, the higher the level, the more things he could see, and the more different they were. Lin Feng's comprehension was already outstanding, and his light and darkness bloodline was also outstanding. Looking at the sky at a close distance and comprehending the heavenly Tao of light and darkness, the feeling of stripping away all his confusion arose. Almost every second, he seemed to have a new understanding of light and darkness. Day after day passed. 1 year passed, and then another. Lin Feng was still silently comprehending. Even though he knew that the competition for the hidden revered training camp had already begun. On the ranking board of the top artificial intelligence, the rankings of the experts were constantly changing, but he was still at the bottom, not moving a single step forward. No rush. This is light. This is darkness. So my understanding of light and darkness before was too one-sided. Lin Feng muttered softly. The light and darkness bloodline on the surface of his body seemed to have become clearer and more transparent. In just a few hundred years, Lin Feng's understanding of light and darkness seemed to be climbing up the tree of technology. Why was the cultivation speed of the light and darkness 9 heavens so slow? Because he still couldn't see through the essence of light and darkness. Now that he was standing on the peak of the 7th God realm, he finally saw through everything. Whether it was light or darkness, they were all superior laws. In terms of the difficulty of the laws, they couldn't be compared to space and time. Adding on Lin Feng's own comprehension and light and darkness talent, it was no joke for him to make rapid progress. Understand the essence. This was very important. Even if his realm didn't increase by much, it was like solving a question. Knowing how to do it and understanding the mystery were two different things. It's time to go to the perfect formation of time. Lin Feng stood up and went straight to the cultivation facility in the universe area. As a special grade genius, he could experience it for free. Adding on the fact that the requirement for the perfect formation of time wasn't high, it only needed 10 Qian Zun points to cultivate for 10 years, and in the perfect formation of time, it would be 100,000 years. Hua, he directly entered. In the perfect formation of time, everything became incomparably slow. Only his consciousness remained the same. Lin Feng raised his head and looked at the sky again. His comprehension of light and darkness had become much weaker, as if the originally clear picture scroll had suddenly become blurry. Just like when they were at the top of the mountain, they were now back on the mountainside. The only difference was that he now fully understood what he had seen from the top of the mountain. Therefore, now that he had returned to the mountainside, he could still clearly comprehend and ponder on his own, advancing steadily step by step. A full 100,000 years was enough for him to understand many things. I see. I understand. No wonder I couldn't break through the third sky of light and darkness. My understanding of this level was completely wrong. Fusion is not merely a fusion. It is also a kind of agreement between two types of energy and two types of laws. The affinity, recorded in my ancestors' myriad heaven path, already explains everything. It's just that I was unable to understand it in the past. 100,000 years of hard work had benefited Lin Feng a lot. In the previous hundreds of years of looking at the sky, what he had seen and comprehended had all been used. At this time, his understanding of light and darkness was unprecedentedly clear. His comprehension of the third sky of light and darkness was also becoming more and more profound. The breakthrough was close at hand. He only needed an opportunity. It seems that I need a little stimulation. Lin Feng stepped out of the perfect formation of time. A short 10 years felt like a lifetime. His realm had improved considerably. Now he was already standing on the border of the third sky of light and darkness. He only needed to see when he could take that step. He could also break through by relying on cultivation alone. However, it was a bit difficult in the perfect formation of time. After all, the requirements for epiphany were too high. It was a bit of a luxury to continue looking at the sky outside. After all, every year in the training camp was very important. Although there was no danger of being eliminated as a special class genius, there were also other dangers, such as the title retention for 5 years, the threat of the survival zone, and so on. It is now the 350th year. The places I can go are the dangerous sky region and the hunting zone. Both are places to earn Qian revered points. The hunting zone is too dangerous for me now. It won't be too late to enter it after I reach the third sky of light and darkness. As for the dangerous sky region, I can go there. Although the Qian revered points are few, it's better than nothing. I can also train my battle strength and get used to the 7 heavenly treasures to prepare for the battle zone in the 4900th year. There were 2 major events in each era in the hidden revered training camp. The battle zone at the end of the first half of the era and the survival zone at the end of the second half of the era. The former was a civil war in the training camps, while the latter was a big battle royale. The most important things to get points were these 2 events, followed by the hunting zone. As for the dangerous sky region and the treasure zone, one was a normal training to earn a few Qian revered points, while the other was to try one's luck to find treasures. With Brother Yuan's personality, he should be in the dangerous sky region now. Lin Feng opened the hidden revered Luo crystal and shared his location. As expected, Yuan Xiu's location was in the dangerous sky region. Ding ding. At the same time, Lin Feng received 2 friend requests. One of them was number 195-8907 and the other was number 10003. Who is it? Lin Feng was very curious. In the hidden revered training camp, cultivators who didn't know you wouldn't take the initiative to add you since it wouldn't benefit anyone. Lin Feng didn't care and accepted the 2 friend requests. He could delete them anyway, so he added them first. He shared his location and saw that the number 195-8907 was in the Dangerous Sky region and the location was very familiar. Oh, she's with Brother Yu? Lin Feng quickly realized. Is she his friend? That's why she added me? Suddenly, Lin Feng smiled in surprise. I almost forgot about the little fox. It's most likely Ouyang Yi. After all, if it was Yuan Shiyu's friend, he wouldn't have added him if he didn't know him. With Yuan Shiyu's personality, he wouldn't have introduced him like this. He didn't know many friends. Yuan Shiyu was one and little fox Ouyang Yi was another. This number 10003. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. The location shared was the hunting area. The hidden revered training camp had just started, and those who dared to enter the hunting area were definitely not ordinary people. Because other than the countless dangerous sky beasts, there were also the god-slaying training camp's cultivators. Killing filled the sky and the competition was extremely fierce. Insolent faces suddenly appeared in his mind, filled with disdain and arrogance. Xing Feng, astral boundary. Lin Feng. The hunting area is waiting for you. Come and fight if you have the guts. A consciousness message directly entered his mind. It was just as arrogant and unbridled, not putting anyone in his eyes. Lin Feng didn't need to think to know who it was. Yuan Shiyu, Astral Boundaries. Kabir. Chapter 2402. One-on-one? Lin Feng wasn't interested in that at the moment. There was no need to show off such bravado. To be honest, he wasn't Kabir's match at the moment. However, there was still a long way to go. There would be a chance eventually. Okay, 2 eras later. Lin Feng replied directly. He didn't delete Kabir, but he removed the location sharing and blocked him. In the hunting zone, Kabir was furious. He had waited for Lin Feng for hundreds of years, and now he finally had the chance. However, the other party wanted him to wait for 2 eras. What a joke. Who knew what would happen after 2 eras? You coward! While fighting with the giant beasts in the hunting zone, Kabir tried to send out a mental message. However, it was as if he had met a wall that blocked his mental message. Damn it, how dare you block me? Kabir's eyes turned red. His messy hair danced in the air like poisonous snake. His sharp claws tore at the ferocious beast in a frenzy. He sent out consciousness messages one after another, but without exception they were all rejected. Damn it! Damn human! Kabir roared. His eyes were red as his sharp claws tore the giant beasts into pieces. Keep hiding if you dare. I'll make sure you die in the survival zone. Kabir's face twisted as he roared. He had nowhere to vent his anger, so he went to other zones. With his strength, he could do whatever he wanted in the hunting zone. Lin Feng went to the dangerous zone alone. The 5 zones all had teleportation channels that led to the 5 zones. It was simple and direct. The dangerous zone opened once every 1,000 years and would last for 1,000 years. There were still 500 years left. Lin Feng didn't plan to meet up with Yuan Shiyu and the little fox. They were working well together, so there was no need for him to interfere. Moreover, his main goal wasn't to earn Qian revered points, but to train the 7 heavenly axiom treasures so that his future battles would be smoother and more controllable. As for the 3rd sky of light and darkness, it would depend on his comprehension. He wouldn't force it. Ding! The vast land was covered in white snow. Lin Feng held Emperor's Concealment in his hand and a murderous aura spread out. Emperor's Concealment's murderous spirit was completely under his control. Even if he had only activated 3 carvings, he could still control it perfectly. Ding Hong's entire body was white, a perfect fit for this snowy land. The proud and aloof Di Inghong blended perfectly with Lin Feng. Weapons were the most important treasures of an expert, because they dominated the glory and power of an expert. The connection between Lin Feng and Di Ying was no worse than Jiedan, but it was still inferior to Hating back then. They still lacked running in and lacked life and death battles. 3 inscriptions, 2 inscriptions, and 1. 2 inscriptions and 1 defense. The first 3 seals are perfect. Space and time are both heaven-rank laws, but even if they don't fuse, they can still complement each other perfectly. There won't be any incompatibility. Lin Feng used War Saber Di Ying and casually used the Milky Way blade technique. At the limit of light and darkness level 2, his battle strength was comparable to a peak god lord, reaching the power of light and darkness level 3 in Wan Qian Dao. There are countless natural dangers in the dangerous heaven region, Li Mu said. Where are they? Lin Feng was very curious. He had been in there for a long time and hadn't encountered any. He only knew about the dangerous natural region from the information provided by the AI. It seemed that every region had different natural dangers, very similar to the treasure region. The only difference was that the rewards from the treasure region were treasures, while the rewards from the dangerous natural region were Qian revered points. Of course, he needed Qian revered points. After all, there was only one free experience. Using the perfect formation of time as an example, 10 Qian revered points for 10 years, which was 1 Qian revered point per year. He only had 500 Qian revered points left, so he could only cultivate for 500 years. In an era, 500 years was a short time. The other cultivation facilities and expensive items that cost 100 Qian revered points each time were no joke. The more expensive it was, the more valuable it was. Snowy ground, snowy ground. Lin Feng searched for a natural stronghold in the boundless white snow. His mood was magnanimous. There were no fights with other cultivators here, and he did not have the pressure of being graded. Naturally, he was at ease. The only thing he had to be careful of was the natural dangers. However, the mortality rate in the dangerous natural region was very low. It seems to be here. Lin Feng's eyes were sharp and he could vaguely sense the danger. It was as if he had stepped into a trap of nature, and stepped on a mechanism. Suddenly, the entire void was covered, causing the mountains to collapse and the earth to crack. The ice and snow emitted a terrifying power as they fell from the sky. Snowballs from every mountain peak rolled over, and the surrounding space was covered by the violent avalanche, making it impossible to teleport. In fact, it was impossible to teleport in the 5 regions. Whoa, are they going to bury me alive? Lin Feng suddenly smiled. He already knew what this natural danger was. Mega avalanche. Level 1. The pressure from above and the surrounding force caused the ground to collapse. Lin Feng's eyes flashed, but he was calm. The Emperor concealment in his hand was like an arrogant dragon as he used his saber skills to protect himself. Rumble! The bottom of the snow ground had completely collapsed, and a terrifying suction force came from below. It was even more terrifying than the suction force of the Milky Way super black hole. In the 7th God realm, nature was definitely a terrifying existence. Each of the snowballs that fell from the sky was equivalent to the attack of a peak divine master. The surrounding avalanches formed a connected array, as if an avalanche field had sealed off everything and attacked Lin Feng from all directions. Chi! Chi! Lin Feng defended against the attacks from all directions while blocking the snowballs from above. His body technique was amazing, but he was in a difficult situation at the moment. The dangerous natural region was no joke. The mortality rate was low, but it could definitely kill a high-level divine master or even a peak divine master. However, the mega avalanche was not a truly terrifying natural danger. Bang! In the end, Lin Feng couldn't dodge in time and was hit by a huge snowball. The terrifying power was like a demon race powerhouse punching him in the chest, causing him great pain. Whoosh! The perished barbarian armor blocked 99% of the power, but even so, Lin Feng still spat out blood. Powerful. Lin Feng smiled bitterly. A peak heavenly law supreme treasure indeed, had extraordinary effect. If it had been before, he would have been seriously injured by this attack. He would not have just spat out blood and continued to fight as if nothing had happened. Mega Avalanche! I didn't expect the first level to be so powerful. Lin Feng's eyes lit up as he used the Milky Way saber technique. There was a faint Mega Avalanche in it. It was the fourth move, Falling Mountain Avalanche. The accumulation of power. The avalanche accumulates power from all directions, increasing its power and creating a kind of explosion. This is really a good place. Chapter 2403. Before Lin Feng entered the dangerous natural region, he had a detailed understanding of the place. He knew what the rules of the dangerous natural region were, and that there could be natural dangers in any terrain. In the same area, the same natural dangers would appear countless times, but the difficulty would be different. The 5 major areas were completely controlled by the top-tier AI. The dangerous natural region was the same. Here, the top-tier AI would give the cultivator a score based on the power coefficient of the natural danger, the difficulty of the cultivator passing through the natural danger, the degree of injury, and the entire process. Finally, the cultivator would be given the corresponding hidden revered point. The difference in hidden revered points between not being injured and being heavily injured after passing through the natural danger was huge. The difference in hidden revered points between a single person and a group of people passing through the natural danger was even greater. However, the most important thing was the power coefficient of the natural danger. When the power coefficient was high enough, even if the cultivators worked together and barely passed, they would still be able to obtain a large number of hidden revered points. The lowest power coefficient was 1, and the highest was 100. It wasn't much, and it was far from the hunting area, but the dangerous natural region's danger level couldn't be compared to the hunting area. Even with Lin Feng's current strength, he was able to train by himself when he just entered the hidden revered training camp. Because this place was more of a training effect, the top-tier AI would gradually arrange the power coefficient according to the individual's strength. Lin Feng was currently experiencing the first level, with a power coefficient of 1. If he could pass through it, he would be at the second level with a power coefficient of 2. If he could pass through it, he would be at the third level with a power coefficient of 3. Until the 100th level. In the current hidden revered training camp, there wasn't a single newcomer whose power coefficient was above 80. Even Zhong Yin, who was ranked first in the last era, only had a power coefficient of 77. Therefore, he didn't receive the most precious gift of the hidden revered training camp, the extreme heavenly path treasure. This was because the minimum requirement to receive the gift was for the power coefficient of the dangerous natural region to reach 80. 80, 85, 90. The power coefficient of the dangerous natural region was a step every 5, and it was very difficult to cross. Especially after reaching 80, the increase in power was even more shocking. If one could cross it, not only would they get a high score and hidden revered points, the grade and type of the ultimate heavenly axiom treasure would also increase accordingly. Among the same heavenly Tao cardinal treasures, ordinary defensive treasures were naturally the weakest. Offensive and control-type treasures were much better, while weapon-type and space-type treasures were undoubtedly superior. As for palace-type, special-type treasures, and domain-type treasures, they were the best of the best. All of these could be checked. At this time, Lin Feng was experiencing the first level of the Great Avalanche and had already come to an end. Even though he had just entered the hidden Zune training camp and entered the dangerous heaven region for the first time, he was alone and did not have any other cultivators to cooperate with him. However, he still managed to pass through it easily. After all, the power coefficient of the first 5 levels was the lowest. 1 Qian revered point? Lin Feng's hidden revered astrolabe gave out hidden revered points, and one hidden revered point was the lowest reward. As long as you passed it, it would give you one hidden revered point. That's why my completion coefficient is very low. Lin Feng smiled. The hidden revered points given by the top AI were very easy to calculate. It was the power coefficient multiplied by the completion coefficient. The power coefficient was fixed, while the completion coefficient was accumulated from many aspects. The highest completion coefficient was 10, and the lowest was 0. 1, however, his completion coefficient this time was obviously lower than the standard completion coefficient of 1. It's mainly because I was hit, which should have deducted a lot from my completion coefficient. Lin Feng carefully thought about the battle just now and knew the reason. After all, he was going through the dangerous heaven region alone, so his completion coefficient was increased. However, he had been attacked and injured. If he did not have the peak Heavenly Tao Cardinal Treasure, the fallen barbarian armor, he might have been seriously injured. This wave of reduction was too fatal. If 2 people passed it, it would be very easy. Lin Feng thought about the dense snowball bombardment. If there was another cultivator beside him, the threat would be reduced by more than 50%. If they worked together closely, they could pass it easily. However, that way, the training effect would be lost. Lin Feng did not care that much about hidden revered point. After all, as a special class genius, he still had 500, or to be precise, 501 hidden revered points. Plus, he had the first chance to experience the training facilities in each area for free. The training effect on himself was more important. One person could enjoy 120% or even 150% of the training effect. For example, in the first big avalanche, other than the training of the dangerous heaven region, he also tasted something else: saber technique. This was the 7th God realm. Everything contained the heavenly Tao's concept, especially the various natural phenomena. They were formed by the heavenly Tao, so the concept was even more intense. When the big avalanche happened, it was as if countless master gods were attacking from all directions. That feeling was still lingering in his mind. The 4th move of my Milky Way saber technique, falling landslide, is actually very similar to the big avalanche. However, the big avalanche is the real all-around attack. It's much stronger than my falling landslide. Not only the saber technique itself, but also the unique concept contained in the saber technique. Up, down, left and right. Space is sealed. Make it impossible for the enemy to escape. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. The hidden emperor in his hand exuded a faint murderous aura. Whoosh, whoosh. The saber kept moving. Lin Feng kept comprehending. For Lin Feng, the 7th God realm was an undeveloped wasteland that contained endless treasures. From comprehending the essence of light and darkness when he first entered to comprehending the saber technique's concept in the dangerous heaven region, he had gained a lot. In his consciousness, Lin Feng vaguely sensed a message from hidden revered Luo Jing. Because he had passed the first dangerous heaven region, the dangerous heaven region ranking in the training camp had been opened. However, Lin Feng was not interested in checking it at the moment. Paying attention to himself was the most important. Comprehending the saber. Practicing the saber. Lin Feng modified falling landslide. Although he wanted to create new moves, Lin Feng was clear that his current level of saber techniques was not enough. He could not really reach the profound level of power. He could only rely on the second sky of light and darkness, the secret techniques created by his ancestors, and some of his own creations to unleash great power. This was not a compromise or retreat, but a clear understanding of his own ability. Only by understanding himself could he truly exert his strongest power. The essence of the falling landslide cannot be changed, and there is no need to change it. This is the essence of this secret technique. What I can use is the concept of the big avalanche and other aspects to help improve the layering of the saber technique. Like the stars surrounding the moon, I can bring out the greatest power of falling landslide. That's it. Finding the direction, seeing the path. In the world of ice and snow, Lin Feng continued to improve his saber techniques and sharpen his new saber technique. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 years had passed. Once again, the world of ice and snow began to tremble. The second level is here. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. Chapter 2404. In a desert castle in the dangerous natural region, there were many traps, and countless sharp arrows that could kill a peak divine master expert were stuck in the path. The air was filled with the smell of battle, and the area was in ruins. The 3 cultivators sat on the ruins with smiles on their faces. We finally passed level 10. Yuan Shiyu wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. These soul-chasing arrows are terrifying. If Xiaoyi wasn't careful, we would have been heavily injured if not dead. I didn't do much. It was Big Brother Kuei and Big Brother Qi. Ouyang Yi smiled sweetly. The one called Big Brother Qi was a thin youth with sharp ears. His amber eyes flashed as he smiled. We passed it together. There's no need to be so formal. Brother Qi, you're too polite. We just entered the hidden sovereign training camp. Thank you for helping us a lot. Yuan Shiyu thanked him. I came 1 era earlier than you. We're brothers, so there's no need to be so polite. The sharp-eared youth smiled. He also came from the Xingfeng branch and was a level 1 genius like Yuan Shiyu. He was in the 2nd era of the hidden sovereign training camp. His name was Qi Ruolin, and he was from the half-spirit race. We still have to thank Brother Qi for helping us so much. Yuan Shiyu thanked him. You've already passed level 35 dangerous natural region, and even helped us pass level 10 power coefficient. The power coefficient of the dangerous natural region was directly related to the weakest person in the team. Yuan Shiyu and Ouyang had only passed the 9th level of power coefficient. Even if Qi Ruolin had passed the 35th level of power coefficient, he would only encounter the 10th level of danger when he was with them. Moreover, he wouldn't receive any hidden revered point. The power coefficient of the dangerous natural region couldn't be repeated. For Yuan Shiyu, even if he formed a team with the other newcomers and tried level 1, level 2, level 8 or even level 9, he wouldn't get any hidden sovereign point. The purpose of the Hidden Supremacy Training Camp was to let new cultivators challenge themselves, and not to repeat useless things. Yeah. Ouyang Yi's fluffy tail stuck up as she cried out happily. What's wrong? Yuan Shiyu looked over. Ouyang Yi looked over with a sweet smile. Big Brother Kuei, Big Brother Lin added me as a friend. When she was training in the dangerous heaven region, she had turned off all notifications. Now that she was free, Ouyang Yi opened the hidden Exalt Luo crystal. Hu Jinyu nodded and opened the hidden Exalt Luo crystal as well, revealing a knowing smile. This brat is finally willing to come out. Are you talking about one of the 3 special geniuses of this era in the Xingfeng branch, Lin Feng? Qi Ruolin asked. Yes, Big Brother Lin is very nice. He doesn't put on the airs of a super genius at all. Ouyang Yi wagged her tail and smiled. He's much easier to get along with than the other 2 special geniuses, right, Big Brother Kuei? Yuan Shiyu smiled. I checked the ranking of the dangerous sky region. Brother Lin just passed the 2nd level. Qi Ruolin nodded. Special grade geniuses are usually more aloof and arrogant. This kind of person is rare. If there's a chance, I must get to know him. Alright, if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. Alright. Yuan Shiyu and Ouyang Yi said their goodbyes to Qi Ruolin. They had asked Qi Ruolin for help to come to the 10th level of the dangerous sky region. They couldn't delay him any longer. After all, if they kept asking him for help, they wouldn't feel good and they wouldn't get many Qian Zun points. I'll contact Brother Lin, Yuan Shiyu said. Okay. Ouyang Yi nodded obediently. Soon. Let's turn off the communication. Yuan Shiyu smiled bitterly. Brother Lin is really a loner. Maybe Big Brother Lin is busy right now. Ouyang Yi smiled sweetly. Let's go back first. Big brother Kuei, I have enough Qian Zun point. I want to go back and cultivate for a while. Then we can go to the treasure region together. Alright, let's go back together, Yuan Shiyu said. In a world of ice and snow, there was white fog. The snowflakes were like blades, dancing and cutting crazily. The surrounding space was cut into countless pieces. The space turbulence seemed to be able to swallow everything. Compared to the first level of the power coefficient, the mega avalanche seemed to have changed into a new mode. The third level. This level also explained a completely different type of avalanche. It increased step by step, and its power increased step by step. Lin Feng was also improving step by step. This was a natural tempering ground. Not only could it hone one's combat strength, but it could also rapidly improve the realm of the saber technique. From the natural hazards of nature, one could see the existence of many true heavenly axioms. Lin Feng saw every change in the mega avalanche and experienced it personally. Between each level there would be about 10 years of rest. During this time, he could ponder and comprehend. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Lin Feng's movement technique was like a rainbow. He dodged easily. Compared to the first time he encountered the mega avalanche, he was much more relaxed now. Even if the mega snowball attack turned into thinner snowflakes, he could still dodge it. Indy quickly waved his hand and condensed layers of secret spatial patterns to block the snowflake. Be it mega snowball, hail, or snowflakes. Actually, the attacks are all the same. The mega avalanche's attacks are mainly focused on density. Dense enough attacks are impossible to guard against. Dense enough attacks will create a huge pressure in the heart. My falling mountain avalanche is too direct. The support attacks are many and dense. Only then can the falling mountain avalanche be more powerful. Lin Feng's attacks had already begun to change. The adaptation to the dangerous heavenly region and the comprehension of the mega avalanche had not been wasted in the past few decades. Every time he experienced a mega avalanche, he would gain new insights and improve. With the improvement of the power coefficient, the focus of the mega avalanche's attacks also changed. Each level of the mega avalanche seemed to contain a kind of core, a unique existence. The fourth level, the fifth level, Lin Feng alone broke through the first 5 levels of the dangerous heavenly region. Boom! The war saber Indy burst out. Lin Feng's saber momentum was like a rainbow piercing the sun. It was unstoppable and directly hit the ground. The terrifying power was several times more powerful than the falling mountain avalanche at the beginning. For Lin Feng, the 100-year mega avalanche's comprehension of the saber had improved by a whole level in both experience and realm. Finally, it's done. Lin Feng showed a satisfied smile. The huge mega snowball of the 5th level shattered and turned into beautiful snowflakes. The sky rumbled and returned to normal. Lin Feng showed a faint smile on his face. The war saber Indy in his hand also felt its master's surging fighting spirit and gently vibrated happily. Although it's an improvement of the falling mountain avalanche, it comes from the dangerous heavenly region after all. The conception is different. Let's call it a new saber technique. Mega Avalanche. Chapter 2405. After creating the 5th move of the Milky Way saber technique, Mega Avalanche, Lin Feng didn't continue to train in the dangerous natural region. He knew very well that the next level of the dangerous natural region would be unbearable. The power coefficient would increase every 5 levels, and the difficulty would increase by 1 level. After returning to the universe area, Lin Feng quickly returned to his room. Hidden revered points, 512. Even after passing the 5th level of the dangerous natural region, it only increased by 12 points. It's so difficult. Lin Feng couldn't help but smile. Normally, passing the 5th level would give him 15 points. If he could exceed the standard, the completion coefficient would be 4 or 5 times, or even close to 100 points. However, he only had 12 points, so the gap was quite big. The ranking of the dangerous natural region. Lin Feng looked at the hidden revered Luo Jing. When he passed the first level of the dangerous natural region, there was already a ranking, but he didn't have time to check it. There are 3 rankings. Lin Feng looked at the left, middle, and right columns. Each column had 2 sides, and the division was even more detailed. Oh! Lin Feng looked at the level ranking on the left side of the dangerous natural region. The person with the highest level was a warrior named Pu Kiki, who had passed level 65. The people ranked 2nd to 4th had also passed level 65, but their hidden revered points were slightly different, ranked from highest to lowest. The 5th place was level 64, and there were quite a few people after level 63, 62, and 61. There were as many as 25 people above level 61. The competition was quite fierce. After all, level 61 to 65 was a big stage, which represented the highest combat power in the hidden revered training camp. There were even more level 60 people, more than level 61 to 65 combined. There were even more people above level 50. These were all cultivators who had stayed in the hidden revered training camp for many eras. The dangerous natural region was different from other regions. The training you experienced in the dangerous natural region was recorded by the top AI and wouldn't be reset. What's next? Lin Feng looked at the bottom. It was also the ranking of the dangerous natural region, but there was an extra color. Black. White and black intertwined, very eye-catching. However, more than 60% of the top 100 were black. There weren't many white ones, especially in the top 10. There were only 3 white ones, and they were ranked 6th, 8th, and 10th. The first 5 were all black in color. God Slayer Training Camp. Lin Feng heaved a sigh of relief. On the left was the ranking of the dangerous natural region. Only the Hidden Zone Training Camp was ranked at the top, while the Godslayer Training Camp and the Godslayer Training Camp were ranked at the bottom. The Godslayer Training Camp occupied the top 5 spot. 1. Trout Dragon, number 10, Dangerous Terrain, level 80. 2. Taigan Decidua, number 1, Dangerous Terrain, level 79. 3. Binksy, number 88, Dangerous Terrain, level 75. 4. Ether, serial number 100, Dangerous Terrain, level 70. 5. Han Li Dao Wang, serial number 444, Dangerous Zone, level 66. 6. Pu Kiki, number 12, Dangerous Terrain, level 65. Trout Dragon, Taigan Decidua. Lin Feng murmured the names. The first 2 were the most eye-catching. One was level 80 and the other was level 79. Their combat power was almost the same. According to the Hidden Zone Training Camp, both of them were qualified to take the ultimate heavenly treasure, and this was only the beginning of this era. The Godslayer Training Camp is really strong, Lin Feng exclaimed. There were 4 cultivators above level 70 in the dangerous terrain. The number of cultivators above level 60 was almost twice that of the Hidden Zone Training Camp. Their individual combat power was outstanding. No wonder he had been hearing about how strong the Godslayer Training Camp was in the survival zone. It wasn't that they were arrogant, but that they were inferior to others. The Godslayer Training Camp experts who had grown through slaughter were even stronger in terms of combat. But the difference in numbers is huge, Lin Feng said. In the Dangerous Heaven Domain ranking, it was clear that the number of cultivators in the Hidden Venerable Training Camp exceeded 12 million. Venerable Cloud Crane had mentioned before that the number of newcomers in the Hidden Venerable Training Camp was usually maintained at around 10 million. Every era, about 3 million newcomers would join. Including the newcomers who didn't go to the Dangerous Terrain ranking, the number of newcomers was between 12 million and 13 million. Flipping to the back, the ranking was even clearer. It was only 600,000 more than the Hidden Zone Training Camp. What did 600,000 mean? That means the total number of cultivators in the Godslayer Training Camp is only 600,000. Lin Feng sighed. there were still a lot of newcomers among them. As time passed, the elimination rate would be higher. The number of cultivators in the Godslayer training camp was less than 5% of the Hidden Zone training camp. They were both giants, but the difference in numbers was huge. However, the Godslayer training camp had the upper hand in terms of combat power. Amazing! Lin Feng then looked at the Qian revered points ranking in the middle. The Qian revered points here were only obtained in the dangerous natural region and did not include anything else. It was different from the ranking on the left because it focused more on completion. The higher the completion rate, the higher the ranking. The top 10 positions have changed again. After Lin Feng finished looking at the Hidden Supreme training camp, he looked at the total of the two training camp. There were quite a few changes, including the positions of the top 10. The most shocking thing was that the first and second positions had been swapped. 1. Taigan Decidua, number 1, Dangerous Terrain level 79. 2. Trout Dragon, number 10, Dangerous Terrain level 80. 3. Binksy, number 88, Dangerous Terrain level 75. 4. Ether, number 100, Dangerous Terrain level 70. 5. Pukiki, number 12, Dangerous Terrain level 65. The hidden Zune points couldn't be seen. After all, it was a cultivator's secret. But the ranking was enough to explain everything. Taigan Decidua's completion rate was relatively high. His battle strength might be more detailed and perfect. His overall strength might not be weaker than Trout Dragon. He might even be stronger. And Pukiki from the Hidden Zune training camp jumped from 6th place to 5th place, surpassing Han Li Dao Wang. It could be seen that he was not only the strongest in the Hidden Zune training camp, but also the real deal. His level of 65 in the dangerous natural region was real. My ranking is really low. Lin Feng looked at his own ranking. Whether it was in terms of level or Qian Zune points, he was ranked below 10 million. It was a terrible sight. The only one with a high ranking was the newcomer ranking on the far right. It barely had a place, but it was still below 1 million. There were too many people who were stronger than him. The newcomer ranking also gives hidden Zune points after an era. Lin Feng knew that these three rankings gave hidden Zune points as a reward. After all, the dangerous terrain itself was a reward. Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. Looking at the newcomer ranking, he couldn't help but take a deep breath. In this era, there were many powerful newcomers, and it wasn't just the god-slaying training camp. There was also a powerful newcomer in the Hidden Zune training camp. Chapter 2406. 1. Yiya, number 909, Dangerous Region level 30. 2. Huang Qinyan, number 10000008, Dangerous Region level 30. 3. Qi Xinyo, number 45799, Dangerous Region level 29. Among the newcomers, the highest level was level 30. However, Lin Feng knew that it wasn't because they were only able to pass level 30. It was because this era hadn't been open for long enough. Every level of the dangerous region had a time limit. It wasn't as if you could challenge it as many times as you wanted. No matter how fast you were, you would only encounter it once every 20 years or so. As for how strong the newcomers are, we'll know after the second round of the dangerous region. Lin Feng closed the ranking. He wasn't belittling himself. After all, every newcomer here was an elite from their respective astral realms. Not only him, the other two special geniuses from the Xing Feng division weren't any better than him in terms of ranking. In the newcomers' ranking, Chess Demon Shun and Wu Gu were indeed in the top 1 million. However, one was ranked 300,000th while the other was ranked 500,000. There was quite a gap between them and the first bat. The highest ranking in the Xing Feng division was actually the ordinary geniuses. One of them was in the top 10,000. However, that was only among all the newcomers. In the entire training camp, it wasn't even worth mentioning. I'll take it slow. It's already not bad for me to be in the top 10,000 in this era. Lin Feng smiled. He didn't mind it that much. The competitive atmosphere in the hidden venerable training camp was quite good. This kind of clear ranking and rewards, including the competition between the two training camps, directly affected every cultivator's heart. Climb up with all your might. The precious region doesn't mean much to me. It's more suitable for those ordinary geniuses to fight for resources. Lin Feng had a clear plan in his mind. In every era, the dangerous region would open from year 0 to 1000, and the precious region would open from year 1000 to 2000. He didn't plan to enter the hunting region, and he wasn't interested in the precious region either. The dangerous region had temporarily reached a bottleneck. What he should continue to do was to cultivate and prepare for the first event in year 4900, combat region. It's time to visit the various training facilities in the universe area. Which one should I go to first? Lin Feng looked up the detailed information and browsed through the various top-notch training facilities. Then, he made a decision. Let's go here first. Concept of heaven and earth, 50 revered elder points, 100 years. Out of all the training facilities in the Universe District, it was one of the more expensive ones. Although the amount of Qian Zun points per unit of time was twice as much as the perfect time formation, the concept of heaven and earth had to last for 100 years, which cost 50 Qian Zun points. Special geniuses could experience it directly. The first time was free. Fifth style of Grand Avalanche. Lin Feng entered the concept world and directly used it. 5 mega avalanches. 5 different mega avalanches from the dangerous heaven region. The first one was a heavy pressure, the second one was a hailstorm, and the third one was a dancing snowflake. Every avalanche seemed to be the same, but there were obvious differences in the details. Based on the 5 mega avalanches, he had created 5 mega avalanches. However, the saber concept was still very weak. In this regard, Lin Feng clearly knew that he still relied more on the power of the secret technique. However, the concept itself was a kind of power of the heavenly Tao, and it was comparable to a secret technique. Coming to the intent world, on the one hand, he wanted to experience the true intent heavenly Tao and see how powerful it was. On the other hand, he wanted to know which aspect of his intent world he should improve and learn. If he didn't understand, he would learn. This was what he was not good at now. First style, heavy. Lin Feng looked at the empty space in front of him. In an instant, a phantom appeared, which seemed to overlap perfectly with his body. It was the same Di-ing holding a saber, the same height, and the same strength. The perfect simulation of top intelligence. However, the attack of the saber move was completely different. Rumble. As the saber fell, Lin Feng widened his eyes, as if he saw the scene of the snow collapsing. A huge snowball rumbled and rolled down. Almost instantly, the scene of him being hit by a big snowball for the first time appeared in his mind. Bang! It hit his heart directly. This? Lin Feng was completely shocked. At this moment, all the thoughts in his mind, all the comprehension of the saber technique, and the 100 years of saber practice in the dangerous heaven region seemed to have been completely overturned. It was the same saber, and he was also using it, but it was a completely different saber technique. This was the real mega avalanche. I went the wrong way. Lin Feng was enlightened. The days in the hidden venerable training camp were packed and tight. Every cultivator and every newcomer was trying their best to improve themselves. In the blink of an eye, the first millennium of this era had passed. Many newcomers stood out, which made people gasp in amazement. Many newcomers would emerge in every era, which made people's eyes light up. Those who were truly talented and had outstanding strength would show different performances in the first 1,000 years. Ye-Yo of the God-Slaying Training Camp is really powerful. Huang Qinyan of our training camp is not bad either. Her level in the dangerous heaven region is exactly the same as Ye-Yo. They all passed level 50. That's terrifying. Yeah, it proves that their strength is actually above level 50. After all, the dangerous heaven region only appears once every 20 years. They can only reach level 50 in 1,000 years. In the past, the highest level of newcomers in the first millennium is level 50. They are doomed. It's not fixed. 50 years is a milestone. In fact, generally, there will only be one newcomer who reaches level 50 in the first millennium every 10 eras. This time, there are two at the same time. I wonder which one of them is more powerful. Let's wait and see. We'll find out in the next millennium. Universe Area, Room 8483. I'm not going. I haven't mastered that pinnacle heavenly Tao absolute treasure yet, Yuan Shiyu said. Ah, you're going to cultivate in the next millennium? Ouyang said, bored. Yuan Shiyu said, You haven't mastered those two heavenly Tao absolute treasures either. Don't be in a hurry to go to the precious treasure domain. That place is of little help to us. We won't be so lucky to find pinnacle heavenly Tao absolute treasures all the time. Okay, Ouyang replied. Listen to me. The most important thing is to master your own absolute treasures. Look further, understand? Yuan Shiyu said. I understand, big brother Kuei, Ouyang said. Okay, see you in a millennium. We'll go to the dangerous heaven region together then, Yuan Shiyu said. See you in a millennium. After saying goodbye to Ouyang, Yuan Shiyu looked at Lin Feng's message. He still couldn't contact him. He shook his head with a bitter smile. Brother Lin is really hard-working. He doesn't even have time to talk. I wonder what he's doing now? He must be cultivating and cultivating again. Haha, I can't lose to him. Yuan Shiyu's eyes lit up. He turned off the call and started cultivating. Chapter 2407. 500 years. Lin Feng stayed in the concept world for 500 years. Other than the first time being free, the next 4 times were all spent on Qian revered points. 4 times cost 200 Qian revered points, which was a huge expense even for a special grade genius. As for a first-grade genius like Yuan Shiyu, his entire wealth didn't even reach 200 Qian revered points. So it's like this, I understand now. This is the true concept, not the narrow concept I thought of, but the true existence of the heavenly Tao. 500 years of comprehension was an earth-shattering experience for Lin Feng. He was like a child who had come out from the wilderness, groping his way through the rugged terrain, improving himself step by step in battle. He had never had a real teacher to guide him. Now, the top intelligence of the intent world had taught him a valuable lesson. Ding! A clear notification sounded in his mind. It came from the top AI. Congratulations, newcomer number 8484, for comprehending the normal heavenly Tao concept. You are rewarded with double 20 Qian revered points. Lin Feng's eyes were clear, but he didn't know whether to laugh or cry at this notification. He knew that newcomers were rewarded with double Qian revered points, but the problem was that double only gave 20 Qian revered points. He had spent 200 Qian revered points and got very little back. Normal heavenly Tao concept. Lin Feng thought. Obviously, there are much more profound concepts, but this should be something that only sovereigns can comprehend, even normal sovereigns. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a reward. Lin Feng still remembered the day when he faced Sovereign Lei Ao in the independent space during the survival challenge. The faint aura that came from him made him feel like he was there. He didn't understand it before, but now he did. This was the heavenly Tao concept. It was the same as him now, normal heavenly Tao concept. I still have 332 Qian revered points. I can't afford the death immortal puppet. Lin Feng looked at the number on the Qian revered Luo crystal and smiled. He was actually in a good mood, after all. He had opened a door and corrected a mistake in his cultivation path. The saber art he created before was too focused on secret techniques and Wanxiang heavenly Tao. The saber art he created wasn't a true saber art, but a secret technique. A secret technique that leaned towards saber arts, or rather, a secret technique that merged with saber art. A true saber art should not be like this. Saber techniques, gravity, and intent. Both should be equally important. He was too focused on gravity, but neglected the importance of intent. Fortunately, he realized it in time. Just the power of the great avalanche is stronger than before, even without the addition of the second heaven of light and darkness. If I can perfectly combine them, my attack power will increase tremendously and be comparable to Brother Yu. Lin Feng sneered. Indeed, strictly speaking, the ordinary heavenly Tao concept he just comprehended didn't help him increase his combat strength by much, but it had opened another door on the path of cultivation. This was very important. His 200 Qian revered points were well spent. There's still some time. Let's continue. Among the 5 forms of the Mega Avalanche, I'm best at the first 3 forms. The 4th and 5th forms are a little complicated. Lin Feng was not complacent. He was very clearly aware that an ordinary concept of the Heaven Tao was merely a threshold of the concept of the Heaven Tao. Just like how an ordinary Exalt Realm expert was only the most ordinary existence in the 7th God dimension. The strong would never be satisfied with the status quo. He must continue to improve. Have you heard? A peak heavenly Tao treasure has appeared. It's true. It's from the newcomer Wu Bao. They're in the same team. Their luck is too good. I'm so envious. We've been here for several eras. Let alone a peak heavenly Tao treasure, we haven't even seen a peak heavenly Tao treasure. Only those who are lucky can enter the treasure realm. We're just wasting our time. There's nothing to be envious about. If you become a special genius, you'll get a peak heavenly Tao treasure. Moreover, you'll get 2 of them. What a joke. You want to be in the top 10,000? How is that possible? Lin Feng strolled in the universe area. He wasn't in a hurry to enter the other training facilities. It wasn't a bad thing to listen to the recent happenings in the training camps and see other cultivators. The treasure domain would open from 1,000 to 2,000 years. Lin Feng didn't plan to enter. What a joke. He hadn't mastered the 2 peak heavenly Tao treasures yet. Even if he was given another one, it wouldn't be of much use. Ye from the God Slayer training camp and Huang Qinyan from the Hidden Revered training camp. 2 newcomers. Lin Feng remembered this in his heart. 2 special geniuses occupying the top 2 spot. There wouldn't be many chances to pull them down in this era. It wasn't a bad thing to have a goal right now. I'll meet them in the combat domain as soon as possible. I wonder how far away I am from them now. Lin Feng smiled and didn't care too much. There were so many cultivators in the training camp. It wouldn't be easy to meet them. It was a good thing to have a gap. It meant that he had a lot of room for improvement. There was still a long time before the combat domain test in 4,900 years. Treasures are still very important. I should master them. Especially my 2 peak heavenly Tao treasures, Hidden Emperor, Fallen Barbarian Armor. But the combat domain heavenly Tao treasures don't seem to be useful. He entered the Treasure Analysis Center. Compared to the expensive Intent World, the Treasure Analysis Center was much cheaper. Like the Perfect Time formation, it only required 10 Qian revered point. However, he could stay inside for 50 years. It was quite good. After all, once the treasures are compatible, refining and mastering them is just a matter of time. Like the Perfect Time formation, it's a type of simplification, so it doesn't require many Qian revered points. Lin Feng thought. The truly expensive ones were things like the Intent World. You got what you paid for. If you cultivated alone, could you comprehend a normal heavenly Tao intent? It was too difficult, unless you had an epiphany. But in the Intent World, a top AI could simulate your blade techniques, sword techniques, and your intent. It was even better than a teacher teaching you personally. Treasure Analysis Center. Analyzing treasures. From the shape, theory, engravings, and other aspects of the treasures. Then, it would teach you how to use them. It would help you better control the treasures and unleash their power. It's still very useful to me now. Lin Feng knew that his foundation was weak. He hadn't even controlled a top-tier Heavenly Tao treasure before. It was indeed difficult for him to control a peak Heavenly Tao treasure. Hidden Emperor was still okay. After all, it was compatible with the heart, so he could grasp it quickly. However, he hadn't grasped much of the fallen barbarian armor. It was a waste to just rely on its own defense. To do a good job, one must first sharpen their tools. If he wanted to stand firm in the hidden revered training camp, he naturally had to strengthen himself to the best state. Chapter 2408. One step at a time, one step at a time. Lin Feng wasn't in a hurry. These top-notch training facilities that couldn't be found outside, even if you had the money, would undoubtedly be of great help to him. Especially now that he was in the first era, the special class geniuses had the advantage of being able to experience it once for free and being rewarded with double Qian Zun points. He had to make good use of it. After coming out of the Treasure Analysis Center, Lin Feng went to a few more training facilities. It was all about strengthening one's combat power in all aspects. Although experiencing it once was very short, it was still better than cultivating on his own. Moreover, he was already at the bottleneck of the second heaven of light and darkness. He needed an epiphany. However, he didn't have enough opportunities. The treasure area was meaningless. The dangerous natural region hadn't opened yet. The hunting area was too dangerous. He could only rely on the training facilities. Just like the Great Avalanche, he could increase his strength from other aspects. Some things were useless even if he was anxious. In the blink of an eye, it was already 2,000 years since he entered the hidden Zun training camp. It was another round of the dangerous natural region. For Lin Feng, the increase in his strength in these 2,000 years wasn't big, but it wasn't small either. The real improvement was in his vision, cultivation path, and other aspects. They were all corrected. It's time to go to the dangerous heaven region again. Lin Feng stretched and came out of the time cultivation formation. This training facility only required 10 Qian Zun points to enter the 100,000 years training facility. It was the one he used the most. Now, his Qian Zun points had dropped below 300, leaving him with 252 points. Shua, Lin Feng opened the communication channel. Almost immediately, Yuan Shiyu's message came. Brother Lin, let's go to the dangerous natural region together? No, Brother Yuan, I still want to continue cultivating. Lin Feng declined. He still wanted to go to the Great Avalanche and see what was after it. He also wanted to see if it was possible to continue improving his blade technique and concept. Okay. Yuan Shiyu was also carefree. If there's a chance, let's go together. Of course, Lin Feng replied with a smile. Then, he chatted with the little fox Ouyangyi for a while. Just as he was about to close the communication channel, a roar came. Lin Feng, come out and fight if you're a man. Kabir's ferocious face appeared in front of him. Lin Feng smiled and closed the communication. Don't worry. That day will come. Lin Feng headed towards the dangerous heaven region. Rumble! Rumble! The power of the mega avalanche continued to increase. Every big snowball that fell was like an explosion of angry thunder, causing the entire ground to tremble. The terrifying suction force from below was comparable to the suction force of 100 super black holes. Level 6. Mega Avalanche Heavy. Lin Feng used heavy to meet heavy, using strength to break strength. Where the saber struck, another avalanche appeared, causing the entire space to form a strange sense of disarray. Comprehending the heavenly Tao, Lin Feng shifted and dodged the large snowballs. His saber technique became more and more decisive and concise. Chi, chi, chi. Lin Feng easily broke through the most important part of the great avalanche. His body rose into the air, overlooking everything below. That kind of ease and comfort was not present in the previous level 5 avalanches. Level 6 was an entire level higher than level 5. Ding! A light sound came from the Qian revered Luo crystal. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He had gained 12 Qian revered points, which was exactly the same as the Qian revered points he got from the level 1 to 5 dangerous natural areas. His power coefficient was 6. In other words, his completion coefficient was 2. It was double the standard completion coefficient of 1. These 1,000 years of cultivation were not in vain. Lin Feng smiled with satisfaction. Most importantly, he had comprehended the heavenly Tao intent. He was like a fish in water in this mega avalanche. He clearly knew where the weak points were, where the flaws were, and where he could use them. Seeing through everything and having enough strength, it was easy for him to pass level 6. Level 7, level 8, level 9 Lin Feng was like a hot knife through butter. Soon, he reached the last level of this barrier, which was also the most difficult level. Back then, Yuan Xiu and Ouyangyi had to ask Qirwulan for help to get a high completion coefficient. However, the current Lin Feng was able to challenge them single-handedly. Pfft! Lin Feng was slightly injured, but his battle strength was unaffected. He passed the mega avalanche. Level 10 is still a bit difficult. With my current strength, even with the heavenly Tao intent, I still don't have the confidence to pass level 11. Lin Feng looked at the Qian revered points in the Qian revered Luo crystal. The Qian revered points from the 10th level wasn't as much as the 9th level. Because the completion rate wasn't high, he only got 8 Qian revered points. 301 hidden revered points. I finally passed 300. Lin Feng sighed. Hidden revered points were used up too quickly, but they were too hard to earn. Universe area, room 10003. This was Kabir's room. He did not manage to snatch Lin Feng's room 8484. In the end, he only managed to get room 10003. He still did not manage to squeeze into the top 10,000. This was a thorn in Kabir's heart. Even now, his real-time ranking wasn't in the top 10,000. It was very similar to his room number, 10303. The difference between the top 10,000 and 10,000 was huge. The former were special geniuses, core members of the 7th Mercenary Alliance. The latter were only level 1 geniuses, normal members. Kabishing was very clear about this. Bastard! Not opening the message every year, so shameless. Cowardly human, not even daring to accept the challenge, damn it, damn it! Kabishing gritted his teeth in anger. Naturally, he blamed everything that had happened in this era on Lin Feng, including the injuries he had received in the hunting zone and the fact that he had almost been killed by the deicide training camp's cultivators. Even now, he was still in great pain. Extreme anger. Don't let me catch you. Human Lin Feng, I'm going to kill you. Kabishing's face was filled with anger. Suddenly, a call appeared in his communicator. Cabby's eyes flashed. Lin Feng has appeared? Schwa. In an instant, Kabishing disappeared from room 10003. The universe area on the street. Lin Feng, who had returned from the dangerous natural zone, returned to his normal state and continued to cultivate. Level 10 was almost the limit of the dangerous natural region. Lin Feng knew that if he tried his best, he would be able to reach level 15. Even reaching level 20 was possible. But it wasn't necessary, because the completion rate wasn't high. If he completed it now, he would be giving away his hidden revered points for nothing. He might as well go the next time the dangerous natural zone opened. He still had a long time in the hidden revered training camp, so there was no need to rush. Which training facility should I go to now? Lin Feng thought. Suddenly, a space ripple appeared in front of him, and a ferocious figure with an angry face appeared in front of him, blocking his path. Lin Feng. The one who came was Kabishun. Chapter 2409. Lin Feng stopped in his tracks. Looking at Kabir, who who had suddenly teleported in front of him, he was slightly surprised but not too surprised. There were so many cultivators in the universe area. It was normal for them to send a message to Kabir after seeing him appear. His brown eyes were filled with killing intent as he stared at Lin Feng. It was as if he had finally found the prey he was looking for. He gritted his teeth and said, "You're finally willing to appear, Lin Feng." His hoarse voice caused the space to tremble, and the atmosphere became extremely tense. Instantly, all the cultivators in the universe area stopped in their tracks and looked over. "I've always been here." Lin Feng laughed involuntarily. The muscles on Kabir's face twitched. "Cut the crap. If you're a man, fight me." Lin Feng smiled. "If you like, we can fight here." The number of cultivators around them seemed to have increased, and Lin Feng did not want to cause unnecessary trouble, so he prepared to leave. "You!" Kabir's face turned ugly. He naturally did not dare to fight here, and he could not even stop Lin Feng. He knew better than anyone what the consequences of breaking the rules of the hidden sovereign training camp were. Fighting in the 5 districts was simply courting death. "You coward!" Kabir roared, his veins popping out. Lin Feng could not help but laugh. "If you really have the strength, why don't you challenge Pukiki? Coming here to find a newbie like me, what kind of strength is that?" There was an uproar. Pukik's name was like thunder in the hidden sovereign training camp. She was at the top of the ranking and could be said to be the strongest cultivator in the camp. Kabir's face turned ugly. The surrounding gazes seemed to be filled with mockery, causing Kabir to lose face. Because what he was doing now was indeed unkind. "Hey, Kabir, if you want to fight, come find me." A youth in white with a braid landed in the distance and said, "I have plenty of time. You can fight as many times as you want." "It's Wang's son." "Wang's son, ranked 950 on the ranking." "Haha, Kabir is defeated. Look at his expression." Sounds of exclamations and laughter could be heard all around. Everyone was a genius powerhouse from their respective astral realms, so they naturally did not care too much about Kabishing. They spoke whatever was on their minds. Many of them were actually not any weaker than Kabishing. It was just that their ratings were not as good as Kabishing's. Whoosh! Khabib's face grew even grimmer. "Mind your own business, Wang's son." Kabir did not look at Wang's Sunday. He seemed to be avoiding Wang's son's gaze. "This is a private matter between me and this kid. It has nothing to do with you." Wang's son swung his long braid and said with a smile, "Aren't you just bullying the weak and fearing the strong? Not to mention that he's a newcomer, and his life aura hasn't even reached the Divine Master level. How can a peak Divine Master like you have the nerve to challenge him?" Kabir's face was as red as a drunkard's. If it was anyone else who said this, he would have already retorted. However, it was Wang's Sunday. Kabir did not dare to offend him too much. After all, the one who would end up losing face in the end would be him. He gritted his teeth and said, "It's not like I want to fight with him." "What's that? Combat style?" Wang's son narrowed his eyes. "That's right." Kabir nodded. "Everyone has the same physical quality and the same soul strength. Let's see whose strength and technique are more outstanding, whose law comprehension is higher, and whose combat ability is stronger." Wang's son nodded. "That's not bullying." The surrounding cultivators couldn't help but discuss. Kabisheng's expression was a little stiff, but he was embarrassed and couldn't get off the stage. Although he had been in the hidden Zune training camp for 5 eras, his results in the domain of combat weren't good, far from the survival domain. Otherwise, he would have entered the top 10,000 long ago. This kid probably doesn't have the guts to accept it. Kabir thought to himself. Actually, he already regretted saying it. The human newcomer in front of him was only a peak heavenly god, not even a divine master. It was clear that he was very strong in other aspects. According to the combat domain, Kabir did not have the slightest bit of confidence. "Hey, little guy over there, how about it? Are you interested?" Wang's son smiled. There was a hint of craftiness in his eyes, and his lips curled up. However, Kabir could not see it. "I'm happy to." Lin Feng smiled. Of course, he knew how to fight in the field of combat, and this senior from the training camp named Wang Sun was obviously helping him. Whether he won or lost, at least he would not be injured, and he would be able to settle things with Kabir, resolving the current situation. Cluck! Kabir gritted his teeth. The thing he did not want to see the most was Lin Feng accepting the challenge. First, he did not have the slightest bit of confidence. Second, even if he won, he would not gain much. If he lost, he would lose all his face. Moreover, Lin Feng had agreed so easily. It was as if he had a card up his sleeve. "Since that's the case, I'll reluctantly be the judge." Wang Sun chuckled. 10 revered points in the combat domain. You can afford it, right? If you can't, I'll pay it for you. I have it, Lin Feng said. He had never entered the combat domain before. As a training facility, it was free for him to enter. I'll pay it myself. Kabir naturally would not let Wang Sun pay 10 revered points. If this were to spread, where would he put his face? Wang Sun lightly nodded. He was just saying it out of politeness. He did not really want to pay. He just liked to set fire and watch the show. His gaze swept across Lin Feng and Kabir as he smiled. Do you want to bet? The combat domain only earns 5 revered points. That's too boring. Why don't you two do something more ruthless? Lin Feng could not help but laugh. Both sides would pay 10 revered points each, and the winner would get 15 revered points. It was indeed meaningless. The hidden revered training camp did not encourage cultivators to earn revered points this way. It was more for those who wanted to show off their skills in the combat domain and get a high score. 100,000 cosmos crystals? A peak-grade heavenly law treasure? Or even more powerful, a peak-grade heavenly law treasure? Wang Sun blinked his eyes and said. He did not mind watching the show. He looked at Lin Feng and then at Kabir. Every time he said a word, the people around would laugh. When he mentioned peak-grade heavenly law treasure, Kabir's face turned black. What a joke! He was only a level 1 genius. He only had 1 peak-grade heavenly law treasure on him. Peak-grade heavenly law treasure is not bad. Let's bet on this. Lin Feng looked at Kabishu's changing expression and knew what he was thinking. He took advantage of the situation and threw out a sentence. It was like a bomb that exploded on the ground. Not only did the surrounding cultivators gasp in shock, even Wang Sun, who was joking around, was taken aback for a moment. Kabir's eyes opened wide as his pupils almost popped out. Chapter 24:10. A Pinnacle Heavenly Path Absolute Treasure. This was not a joke. Every place in the 5 regions was monitored by a top-level AI, including every word they were saying. Even if he lost, Kabir could refuse to give it to him, but it would cause irreversible damage to his reputation. Even if he became a venerable, he might not be able to erase this stain. Did he dare to take the bet? Of course not. First, Kabir was not good at combat. Second, this pinnacle heavenly path absolute treasure directly determined the upper limit of his combat power. Once he lost it, his combat power would be reduced by at least 50%. After that, it would be fatal in the survival domain. But with so many people watching, he could not back down. We'll talk about the bet when the official challenge begins. Kabir gritted his teeth so hard that they almost broke. His eyes were bloodshot. I'm going to the perilous domain now. When the treasure domain opens in 3,000 years, we'll fight again. I'm fine with it, Lin Feng replied. Then it's decided. Wang Sun smiled. There was less than 1,000 years left. For cultivators, it was just a blink of an eye. When the perilous domain closes and the treasure domain opens, we'll wait in combat simulation space number 10. Okay, Lin Feng replied. Humph. Kabir's eyes sharpened as he glared at Lin Feng. It was hard to swallow, but with so many people watching, he had no choice. With a dark face, he teleported away. Thank you for helping me, Brother Wang. Lin Feng thanked him with a smile. It's nothing. Wang's son was very talkative. He hooked his arm around Lin Feng's shoulder. Kid, were you joking just now? Did you really want to bet a pinnacle heavenly path absolute treasure? I was just scaring him. Lin Feng smiled. Wang's son laughed. You're smart. You know that he only has one pinnacle heavenly path absolute treasure, the Dark Claw. It's like his life. You scared him just now. Lin Feng smiled. Actually, it did not matter to him. If he really gambled on a pinnacle heavenly Tao cardinal treasure, it would not be a problem. After all, he now had two pinnacle heavenly Tao cardinal treasures. In battle, he relied more on the concealment emperor. The perishing barbaric armor could actually be replaced. Naturally, it would be better if he had it. Even if he lost it, he would not feel too much heartache. However, Kabisheng was different. His peak heavenly Tao cardinal treasure was too important to him. If he accepted the bet, he would definitely be worried and his state of mind would be affected. If he didn't accept the bet with his pride, it would leave an indelible mark in his heart. Therefore, no matter what, he had the advantage. In the past 1,000 years, with Kabisheng's personality, he would definitely have made sufficient preparations and entered the simulation space many times to train. Wang's son lowered his voice. Although he's ruthless and holds grudges, he takes every battle very seriously. Be careful. I know. Lin Feng naturally wouldn't underestimate Kabisheng. Kabisheng was not the only one who did not have confidence in the combat simulation space. He did not have the slightest confidence either. Therefore, when Kabisheng suggested to wait until the dangerous heavenly region was closed, he agreed. Having more time to prepare was not necessarily a bad thing. The combat simulation space, the survival zone, and the training camp were two major events, but he had no experience at all. It was good that he could experience it first. Moreover, the combat simulation space was not dangerous. It would be good if he won, but if he lost, he would just take it as accumulating experience. That's good. Wang's son squinted and patted Lin Feng's shoulder. Prepare well. See you then. Okay, Brother Wang. Lin Feng said goodbye to Wang Sunday. There were all kinds of people in the hidden venerable training camp. There were many geniuses and new geniuses from various astral realms. Every one of them was proud and arrogant. Ordinary geniuses were nothing here. Kabisheng. Lin Feng returned to his room and checked the top-level AI. Although there was only some basic information, he could still get a lot of information from it, especially the ranking of the dangerous heavenly region and Kabisheng's rating in the previous eras. He had a rough idea of his strength. He's close to the limit of a peak divine master. Lin Feng was shocked. Peak divine masters could be roughly divided into ordinary peak divine masters, and those who ranked below 1 million in the training camp were all at this level. The outstanding peak divine masters ranked between 100,000 and 1 million, and Yuan Xiu was roughly at this level. Those ranked between 10,000 and 100,000 were close to the limit of a peak divine master. Kabisheng was ranked 18,799 in the previous era. As for those ranked below 10,000, they were directly given the title of Special Genius by the 7th Mercenary Alliance. They were at least at the limit of a peak divine master. Some were even invincible peak divine masters and close to venerables. In terms of combat power, there's still a big gap between me and Kabisheng. Lin Feng knew this very well. Although he had improved a lot in the past 2,000 years, he had only reached the level of an ordinary peak divine master. He was still far from the top peak divine masters where Yuan Xiu was, let alone close to the limit of a peak divine master. However, the combat simulation space was different. There, everyone had the same ordinary peak divine master body and soul strength. There was no difference in bloodline, and there was no advantage of heavenly law treasures. This greatly narrowed the gap between an ordinary genius and a special genius. Therefore, the combat simulation space was an excellent opportunity for ordinary geniuses to get a score. What were they competing in? Comprehension of laws and mastery of the heavenly law. Mastery of secret techniques, the use of power, the depth of concept, and the ability to fight. Lin Feng nodded. It was never his style to admit defeat before the battle. Although he still had no confidence in defeating Kabisheng in the combat simulation space, his chances of defeating Kabisheng were much higher than in the survival domain or the hunting domain. Moreover, Kabisheng's results in the combat simulation space were not good. 5 times in the combat simulation space, 3 times in the first round, and 2 times in the second round. Based on his final score and ranking, it was a tragic sight. In other words, he had never entered the top 100,000. My comprehension of the law of space and the law of time is indeed not high, but it's very difficult to use the 2 secret techniques. I'm good at the fusion of light and darkness, and I'm good at the top-notch 10,000 creations heavenly law, the 9 heavens of light and darkness. Coupled with the improvement of my saber techniques and the ordinary concept of the heavenly law that I've just comprehended, I created the 5-style avalanche saber technique. There's a chance of winning. Lin Feng knew very well that his chances of winning were about 10 to 20%. In terms of combat experience and control of the battle situation, he was confident that Kabisheng would not falter. Whether it was his on-the-spot reaction or willpower, he had already thoroughly tempered them. My advantage is that I still have training facilities that I haven't used yet, and I have enough time. I'll try to raise my chances of winning to about 50% before the end of this era. Lin Feng clenched his fists. The joy of competition and challenge flowed through his body, making his blood boil. Before the combat simulation space opened, this was undoubtedly the battle that he looked forward to the most. Chapter 24:11. Have you heard? Newcomer Lin Feng and Ka Bai Hin are going to duel. Haha, it's all over the Universe District. Who doesn't know? Wang's son is the judge, and I heard they are betting a pinnacle heavenly Tao treasure. No way, a pinnacle heavenly Tao treasure. It's true. It'll happen in the blink of an eye in 500 years. Speaking of which, this newcomer Lin Feng is quite daring. He knows how strong Ka Bai Hin is and still dares to accept the challenge. Truly a newborn calf that isn't afraid of a tiger. It's a battle simulation space, so the newcomer's disadvantage isn't that big. You've seen Ka Bai Hin's battle results in the past 5 epochs. It's a mess. Even I'm stronger than him. Haha, he's still stronger than the newcomer. The newcomer just entered the first epoch. Whether it's the battle domain or the survival domain, their battle results are usually unsightly. I don't know. Let's wait and see. It's quite interesting. In the Universe District, the news spread like wildfire. Such a duel wasn't rare, but it was rare to see such a huge bet between Ka Bai Xin and Lin Feng. After all, the value of a pinnacle heavenly Tao true treasure was obvious. Even the most ordinary pinnacle heavenly Tao true treasure was priced at 1 million cosmos crystals. In the training camp, the minimum exchange requirement was 1,000 Qian revered points, and only the title of a level 1 genius or above could exchange for it. The better ones were even more expensive. Similarly, the price of a pinnacle heavenly Tao treasure could be 10 times or even 10 times more expensive. After all, there were too few ultimate heavenly Tao treasures. Lin Feng did not pay attention to what was happening outside. The commotion outside did not affect him at all. He went in and out of various training facilities to improve his abilities. Even Lin Feng specially entered the battle simulation space to familiarize himself with his new body. He spent a lot of time adapting. Every training facility in the Universe District had its own uses. The key is still the Great Avalanche. The fusion of ordinary heavenly Tao intent and blade techniques. Perfecting the 5 moves is enough to raise my battle strength to a whole new level. In the perfect time array, Lin Feng continued to practice his blade technique. This was especially true for the fourth and fifth moves of the Great Avalanche. They were the most powerful and the most difficult to control. Even the concept behind them was difficult to comprehend. The 6th to 10th avalanches in the dangerous natural region were, in fact, repetitions of the first 5 avalanches, but their power had increased by 1 level. Lin Feng didn't enter the concept world again. He chose the perfect time formation, using time and hard work to break through. He had already comprehended the heavenly Tao of an ordinary concept. It would be extremely difficult to raise it any further. Right now, what was urgent was the creation of the saber technique. The will realm of heavenly Tao was not that anxious. He had just broken through, and it was unrealistic to want to go up another level in the will realm of heavenly Tao. Again and again, decade after decade, Lin Feng cultivated in the perfect time formation while entering the combat practice hall to search for opponents, simulating and comprehending. Time passed by extremely quickly. His Qian Zun points were also consumed quickly, going from 301 to 251, then to 201, and finally to 181. It wasn't just for the battle with Kabir. It was also for the competition in the real combat domain. It was also for the Mega Avalanche Saber technique that he wanted to create. Since he had already done it, he would do his best to do it. In the real combat simulation space, sharp claws tore through the sky, bringing with them a layer of spatial lightning, as if weaving a huge picture scroll. The picture scroll opened and shattered, revealing Kabir's dark brown eyes. He had also grasped the ordinary concept heavenly Tao. He grasped it much earlier than Lin Feng, but this didn't help him achieve better results in the real combat domain. This was the hidden Zun training camp. Grasping the ordinary concept heavenly Tao was nothing. Cultivators who grasped the higher level of the concept heavenly Tao were everywhere, especially demon powerhouses who cultivated the strength heavenly Tao. It was much easier for them to grasp the concept heavenly Tao. Humans had a strong understanding of the laws, while demons had a strong understanding of power. However, Kabir was undoubtedly embarrassed. He was proficient in both, but not strong in either. His mixed strength heavenly Tao cultivation wasn't good either. Because his bloodline was between human and demon, his performance in the heavenly Tao realm was indeed average. However, his bloodline was strong enough, and he had a good grasp of the peak heavenly Tao treasure. Therefore, his performance in the survival domain was quite good. He almost entered the top 10,000 in the last era. After 5 eras of tempering, I've been reborn. With my cultivation, I can definitely enter the 3rd round in the real combat domain. I'll use this human brat as a sacrifice. 2,000 years later, I, Kabir, will definitely enter the 3rd round. Gritting his teeth, Kabir was filled with fighting spirit. Although he had to pay a lot of Qian revered points, he thought it was worth it. After all, he needed to strengthen his combat domain, and his realm had always been his weakness. Otherwise, no matter how good his performance in the survival domain was, he still wouldn't be able to enter the top 10,000. The 2nd round of the dangerous natural region competition was in full swing. The newbies' rankings in the dangerous natural region started to pull apart as time passed. Especially the first 2 newbies, the gap between them grew bigger and bigger. It was more than 5 levels. 1 Huang Qinyan, number 1000008, dangerous natural region level 50. 2 Yiya, number 909, dangerous natural region level 50. 3 Ancient Qi Mei, number 2175, dangerous natural region level 45. Yiya and Huang Qinyan, who had always been in a fierce competition, had a big change in their rankings after 2 rounds of the dangerous natural region competition. The 1st and 2nd place had changed. They were both level 50, but this meant that Huang Qinyan's completion rate was higher. In the 1st round, she reached level 30. In the 2nd round, she reached level 50. Both Ye and Huang Qinyan were undoubtedly top geniuses. One had to know that Pu Kiki, who was ranked first in the hidden sovereign training camp, hadn't even reached level 70 in the dangerous natural region. On the other hand, he had only reached level 45 in the dangerous natural region when he was still a newbie. In comparison, the difference was much more obvious. However, they couldn't be compared. After all, some cultivators leveled up faster than others. However, one thing was undeniable. Ye and Huang Qinyan were now famous in the two training camps, and they were known as the top contenders in the future. Level 50 in the dangerous natural region, if one passed it alone, it meant that they had the combat power of a peak godlord. This was the standard for entering the top 10,000 of the training camp and becoming a special class genius. Every region was talking about the two super newbies. The news caused a sensation. As the dangerous sky region closed again, the precious treasure region opened again. A highly anticipated duel began in the universe region. In front of simulation space number 10, many cultivators had gathered to watch the show. They were waiting for the peak-level Heavenly Tao Supreme Treasure to appear. Ka Bai Sun, Lin Feng. Chapter 24:12. Haha, the two of you sure are punctual. Wang Sun squinted his eyes and smiled. How about it, do you want to bet more? Other than me, there are a few hundred cultivators here, so I can guarantee that it will be fair. Yes, we are all witnesses. Hee, quickly take out the peak Heavenly Path treasure. That's right, it's more exciting and fun to bet more. We are here to watch the peak Heavenly Path treasure, don't disappoint us. The cultivators all shouted they were here to watch the show. The dangerous heaven zone had just closed, and the treasure zone had just opened, so the cultivators were a bit free. Otherwise, it would be hard for them to be interested in a fight between those who weren't in the top 10,000. But when it came to peak Heavenly Path treasures, it was completely different. Shwa. Ka Bailan's face turned green and ugly. From the start, he didn't want to bet with a peak Heavenly Path treasure because there was only one. But the rumors in the universe area had spread for the past few hundred years. I'm fine with it, let's see what Brother Ka will do. Lin Feng said with a smile that didn't look like a smile. He looked at Ka Bailan with deep meaning. No matter if Ka Bailan agreed or not, his mentality would definitely be affected during the fight. Bet. Ka Bailan. That's right, even a newbie dares to bet. You've been in the training camp for 5 eras, don't tell me you don't have the guts. Haha, if you don't dare to bet, Ka Bailan, you're too weak. You can't be that scared, right? The cultivators were all shrewd people, and they were very good at using provocation. He knew that Kabir cared about his face the most, and every word hit his weak spot, causing his old face to flush red. His nostrils flared, and his bell-like eyes widened in anger. Who says I don't dare to bet? If he can beat me today, I'll use 1,000 Qian Zun points to exchange for any peak Heavenly Path treasure for him. Ka Bailan roared in anger. It was already the 6th era in the hidden revered training camp, and he was close to the top 10,000. Adding on his good performance in the survival zone and fighting in the hunting zone, Ka Bailan had quite a few Qian Zun points, even more than the top 10,000 cultivators. What can 1,000 Qian Zun points be exchanged for? That's right. Only those few peak Heavenly Law treasures are of little use. They're not even as useful as some of the best Heavenly Law treasures. No sincerity at all. You're an expert ranked in the top 20,000, yet you're using these things to trick the newcomers. Aren't you treating others like fools? Too lame. The surrounding noises made Kabir's face turn green. Of course, he knew that 1,000 Qian revered points was only the starting point for a peak-grade Heavenly Tao treasure. A slightly better peak-grade Heavenly Tao treasure would cost at least 3,000 Qian revered points, and peak-grade Heavenly Tao treasures would cost more than 10,000 Qian revered points. I'll bet on the one I'm wearing. Lin Feng added fuel to the fire, and the crowd instantly became rowdy. Space Attribute Perishing Barbarian Armor, 2,500 Qian revered points. Wang Sun's eyes sharpened as he said, among defensive armors, its performance is average, but its comprehensive ability is strong. It's very suitable for use in training camps, especially in the hunting zone. Having said that, Wang Sun couldn't help but glance at Cabochon. The latter's eyes were also shining. He only had one peak-grade Heavenly Dao treasure, and it was an attack type. If he could get this perishing barbarian armor, his battle strength would increase by at least 30%. Especially since he often went to the hunting zone, he had a great need for self-repair armors like this. Kabir himself was an expert in the space Heavenly Dao. I can't take out something of equal value. Kabir's eyes stared straight ahead, but he still maintained a bit of rationality. He only had one peak-grade Heavenly Dao treasure, the Dark Ghost Claw, and he naturally wouldn't use it to bet with Lin Feng. Although he was 95% confident that he could beat Lin Feng, he didn't want to risk the remaining 5%. Oh, Wang Sun said, 1,000 Qian revered points is too far away from the perishing barbarian armor, this won't do. Kabir gritted his teeth. I have 1,800 Qian revered points. If I lose, I'll use them all to exchange. You're still missing 700 Qian revered points. Wang Sun raised his brows. No more. Kabir's eyes widened as he said angrily, at most, I'll add a death immortal puppet, nothing else. Take it if you want, otherwise forget it. Wang Sun looked at Lin Feng. What do you think? 1,800 Qian revered points. I can choose any peak-grade Heavenly Dao treasure, plus the Death Immortal puppet, which is worth 500 Qian revered points. Lin Feng calculated. In terms of value, it was about the same as his perishing barbarian armor. Moreover, Kabir had two while he only had one. So what if he gambled with a 50% chance? It would be good if he won. Even if he lost, he could afford to lose the perishing barbarian armor. If he exchanged it for another defensive peak-grade Heavenly Dao treasure, it wouldn't affect his battle strength too much. After all, he wasn't good at defense anyway. I accept, Lin Feng said. Whoosh. Kabir's arrogant eyes lit up, revealing a fierce glint. Gasps could be heard all around as the atmosphere became lively. The battle in the simulation space wasn't much, but the stakes of a peak-grade Heavenly Dao treasure, which was worth more than 2,000 Qian revered points, was completely different. Haha, interesting, interesting. This newbie has guts, I like it. Isn't that right? I haven't gambled so much in a long time. This newbie is called Lin Feng, right? Let me check. Tisk tsk, the dangerous natural region is only level 10, no way? He's betting so much? Challenging Kabir at level 10? Is he crazy? Kabir's dangerous natural region is level 48. Even if he isn't good at combat, with his own strength, he should be able to easily defeat a level 10 newbie. It's a pity that he lost the perishing barbarian armor. As the information about Lin Feng's dangerous natural region was revealed, the surrounding cultivators all felt that it was a pity. Because of Huang Qinyan, they had high hopes for this era's newbie. They wanted to watch the show, so they naturally wanted it to be more intense. If the battle was one-sided, then it would be too boring. It's not too late to back out now. Wang Sun glanced at Kabir and Lin Feng, hinting at something. No need. Kabir's brown eyes were ferocious as he said fiercely, I, Kabir, never take back what I say. Let's notarize it, Brother Wang. Lin Feng said. Wang Sun nodded. He naturally wouldn't try to persuade him. Every genius had their own thoughts, not to mention that as a man, he wouldn't back out like that. Then it's decided. Wang Sun said, I don't need any notarization. Everyone here is a witness, and I believe that the two of you aren't people who go back on your words. Everything will be decided after the battle in the simulation space. The two of you, please enter. You're dead. Kabir's eyes were filled with anger as he stared at Lin Feng. He was the first to step into the simulation space. Lin Feng chuckled before he stepped inside as well. Chapter 24:13. Whoosh! Lin Feng paid 10 Qian revered points and entered the simulation space. He had already experienced it once before, so he had to spend Qian revered points to enter again. Winning a duel in the simulation space would give him 15 Qian revered points, while losing would give him nothing. A ray of light enveloped him, and Lin Feng's consciousness entered a new body. His soul would not change at all, but it would be suppressed to a certain level, a normal peak God Lord. Here, cultivators who had mutated souls and were born with powerful souls did not have much of an advantage. Their only advantage was that their willpower was stronger, but it did not affect them much in battle. Of course, cultivators who cultivated their souls could still use all sorts of soul secret techniques, but their bloodline power would be gone. It was the same for races with strong physical bodies. All cultivators who entered the simulation space would have their bodies reduced to that of a normal peak God Lord. In other words, they would be a weak peak God Lord. However, without a bloodline or a heavenly Tao treasure, it would be good for cultivators who entered the simulation space to be able to fight to the level of a normal peak God Lord. Those who could fight to the level of a peak God Lord were already very strong. If they could fight to the limit of a peak God Lord, they would be able to achieve great results in the combat space. If they could fight to the limit of a peak God Lord, they would be able to enter the final roulette battle in the combat space. My current combat power is about the level of a normal peak God Lord. After nearly 1,000 years of hard work, Lin Feng was very clear about his own combat power. Although his physical body and soul power had weakened, so had his opponent. Moreover, his opponent's bloodline had weakened even more. Of the 5 great avalanche moves, I have already mastered the first 4 moves. They are basically perfect, so I have a 50% chance of winning. Lin Feng had checked Kabishing's performance in the combat space. In the previous 3 eras, he had fallen in the first round, and in the last 2 eras, he had fallen in the second round. In other words, his combat power in the combat space should be close to a normal peak God Lord, or even a normal peak God Lord. It will depend on my performance. Lin Feng also knew that if Kabishing's combat power was close to a peak God Lord, then he would not be able to win this duel. Outside the simulation space number 10. It's almost ready. Interesting. A battle of 2,500 hidden revered point. By the way, Yami, you fought against Kabir in the last era, right? How was his battle strength? He has the combat power of an ordinary peak divine master. He's just unlucky. His combat power in the 3rd round just keeps falling in the 2nd round. You should know that this is a chaotic battle. Luck is also very important. Haha, Kabir's luck is as bad as his personality. The cultivators laughed heartily as they watched the show. Many of them were still a little jealous of Kabisheng. After all, there were only a few people who ranked higher than Kabisheng in the last era. Other than Wang Sun, only Yu Qinghu, who was ranked 12120, had the word Wang carved deeply on his forehead. What do you think? Yu Qinghu's face was cold as he stood beside Wang Sunday 8-2, Kabir 8. Wang Sun said calmly. Yu Qinghu's eyes sharpened. Wang Sun pointed at the simulation space. Kabir always shows his emotions on his face. Looking at his fighting spirit and confidence, you can tell that he wants to win. He has spent a large amount of hidden revered points to train for the past 1,000 years. He wants to redeem himself in the real battle domain. Right now, his actual combat strength is probably close to that of a peak God Master. Yu Qinghu frowned. His actual combat strength was close to that of a peak Divine Master, and he was one of the best. Wang, in the last era, your combat domain. I think you were ranked 653, right? Yu Qinghu said. Wang Sun squinted his eyes and smiled. You remember it well. Yu Qinghu said, there are only a few hundred people in the universe region who made it into the top 1,000. How can I not remember? Whether it is the combat domain or the survival domain, our hidden revered training camp pales in comparison to the god-slaying training camp. Wang Sun's lips curled. Entering this era's roulette battle, our universe region will definitely have one more. Yu Qing, whose eyes gleamed, very confident. Wang Sun nodded. I have a slight breakthrough. Yu Qing, who laughed. No wonder you stayed in the training camp this era. Wang Sun had been ranked 950th on the ranking list in the previous era. If he entered the top 1,000, he would easily be recognized as a special grade genius. However, he was already a special grade genius, so he did not care for it. His goal was to enter the top 100 of the ranking list. What's so special about me? Those three monsters from the universe region still haven't left, Pu Kuku, Hua Yun and Glazed Ghost. Wang Sun's braid moved. Haha, compared to them, your ambition is really big. Yu Qing, who laughed. Those three all want to get into the top 10, especially that freak Pu Kuku, he wants to get to the top. Wang Sun smiled. I can't beat them in the survival domain, but I can give it a try in the combat domain. You're amazing. Yu Qing, who naturally knew that Wang Sun dared to say that because his combat power had already reached the peak divine master level. Otherwise, where would he get the confidence to enter the roulette battle? Alright, let's talk later. Let's watch the battle first. Wang Sun looked at the battle space in front of him. The surrounding cultivators also focused their gazes on them. Lin Feng and Kabir had finished their preparations. There were three types of spaces in the simulation space. One of them was the self-cultivation space, which allowed cultivators to adapt to their bodies in the combat domain and improve their combat strength in preparation for the combat domain. The second was the challenge space, where there would be strange and powerful opponents. Just like the dangerous natural region, there were 100 levels, and after level 30, there would be rewards of Qian Zun points. The third was the duel space. That was where Lin Feng and Wang Sun were now. They were in a completely enclosed space where a one-on-one duel would end with death. You could choose whether you wanted to watch the duel or not, but since there was a bet, you could choose to watch. Clang! Lin Feng took out his battle saber, Emperor's Concealment. It was just a battle saber in the style of Emperor's Concealment that was simulated by top-tier artificial intelligence. It was a top-tier Heavenly Dao Cardinal Treasure, but it did not have any other additional effects. Qi. Khabib's claws were refined and emitted a cold aura. It was the pinnacle Heavenly Dao treasure that he relied on the most, the Dark Ghost Claws. It was famous in the hunting zone, but it was only a pinnacle Heavenly Dao treasure without any additional effects. In terms of weapons, Lin Feng actually had the advantage. After all, Lin Feng could not even use 10% of the power of Emperor's Concealment, while Khabib could already use 100% of the Dark Ghost Claw's power. If they were in the survival domain, Lin Feng would probably be killed instantly. But in the simulation space, it was different. Whoosh, whoosh. The two figures used the most direct method of attack from the beginning. Close combat.